Okay.
Yeah, you sound good.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Owner. Okay. That's a powerful name. Let's see. Who else do we have? Garcia. Let's see who else.
I admit it all.
Hi, Samantha. Let's see who. Sebastian.
Hello.
Hello, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I can see everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this workshop. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining us. Gosh, this is a lot of perspective comics. Gonna make me nervous. Gonna have to step my game up if all y'all coming for jobs. Let's see. We have a excellent workshop for you guys. This is my first time hosting a virtual workshop, so I thank you in advance for your patience and not making fun of me acting like a boomer with the technology. No offense to any boomers. Okay. Oh, Rick, I see you. What's up, Ari? Let's see who else. Omari, Jeff, Daisy, Cindy, 13137, Joe, Kathy, Samantha, all you guys. Thank you so much. I know we've been waiting long enough, so basically what we're doing is we are going to have about a 30-minute talk from Matthew Taylor, who is a very funny comedian.
They can see you or what?
You can hear me, you can see me, or what?
I'm over the TV. I can't hear nothing.
Oh, you can't hear anything? I think everyone else can hear. Everyone else can hear,
I can
right?
hear. No, I can hear you good.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, so yeah, we have an awesome comedian. I've been working with him for like 6 years. He's been doing comedy for 12, 13, 14 years now. 13, 18. 18. I was trying to keep you young.
Wow.
He's been doing comedy for a long time. He's taught thousands of students, produced hundreds upon hundreds, probably thousands now shows. I can't say enough about him. After he's done talking, then we are going to do a brief Q&A. And oh yeah, if you have any questions that come up, go ahead and just message the group. And we might have to mute people to eliminate some. It's a really large group. But what I'm saying is if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and message them to the group. I will be monitoring that chat. And then when we do the Q&A, I will go ahead and pass along the questions. So make sure if you don't have your name as your username and you want to be referred to as your name, then include that in your question. And I think let's real quick. Is everyone okay? Speak up now or forever hold your peace until Q&A. All right,
That's
awesome.
funny.
I feel good about this. This is going to be awesome. Are you
Looking
ready to
forward
be
to it.
officially?
Well, I can't hear very well, but I can make do. I think I can do it.
As long as they can hear you,
Yeah.
which
As long as they can hear me, that's the good thing. But
awesome.
right now, these things are just apples dropping the ball.
Okay, let's see. So, why don't I go ahead and hand it to you, Matt?
Sounds good. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
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 Hi. What up, Matthew?
Hi.
What's going on? Hello. Matthew, turn your mic on.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
You gotta
My
unmute
name-
yourself.
Nice to meet you. My name is Syed.
Hello.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I can't hear anything from Matthew. Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, Matthew needs to be unmuted.
There he is. He's off mute. Yeah, we can't hear him.
Right.
Oh, I'm off
Back on.
mute. Oh, there it goes. All right.
No, you
okay.
guys are getting to say hello until we're trying to
All right.
put the
We
spotlight
missed
back
that.
on.
We missed that awesome introduction.
Hang on and hang in. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Matthew.
Hello, everybody. Can we hear me
Hello.
now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Loud
That
and
is so good. I am old. You got to forgive me. Technology still scares me. I'm very bad at it. I should be better at it, but I've hit that age now where like my brain's not learning new things, and it's trying, but it's just not. It's starting to do things like I remember cassette tapes. I'm starting to think those thoughts, which is not a good thing to think. The future is here. I'm still part of it, I hope. I look at my mother. My mother is better with technology than I am, which really worries me because she is almost 80, and that's not supposed to be that way. But she's a hacker. She's on the internet, just tap 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 tap. She's on the dark net. I don't even want to know. My mom probably is a Russian botnet. Who knows? So
Yeah, that's so hilarious.
I have spent my entire life trying to figure out why people laugh. Like that is like the most fascinating thing to me, and I figured it out. I did. I swear I did. I'm going to share a bunch of it with you, but I don't want to melt your faces with information. So the focus of this class is to give you everything that you need to know to do well from like the first time you get on the stage. So I'm going to give you like the important parts. I'm going to leave some of the nuance out. I'll identify the things I'm leaving out though for you. But everything you're going to get here is the best. It's like the meat and potatoes of what you want to know. So let's start with the thing everyone has to know if you want to do comedy. There is one reason why people laugh. Only one reason. And if you know what it is, then you can take anything you ever want to do and you can look at it and go, all right, this will work or not work. The reason is surprise. That is the moment when people laugh. Specifically, it's surprise that resolves or relieves pain. And pain, I don't mean ouchy, ouchy pain. I mean anything that takes you away from being calm and at peace, like the Buddhist version of pain. So if you're sad, that's the pain. If you are scared, that's the pain. Any kind of emotion that works on you. So the takeaway from this, besides
no more ice cream.
no more ice cream. I know when I was at Harvard, that was what the
Sorry about
professor would
that.
yell at. It's absolutely okay. Just no more ice cream. That's important. So if you ever want to know if what you have is funny, right? Like you're like, did I just think of something funny? Is it funny? Ask yourself this question. Where is the surprise? Every joke on earth ever that has ever worked has a clear, identifiable point of surprise. Every joke that doesn't, does not. It is the single common denominator for all comedy. So that is the most important thing. From now on, for the rest of your life, if you write something or you think of something and you go, is this funny? Ask yourself, what's the surprise? If you can identify it, it's probably funny. If you can't, guaranteed it's not. That is pretty much the most important part of theory that you need to know. The reason people will find things surprising is if they empathize with you. They have to like you. They have to care about you, so that then they can, when you emote, they will feel. Also, when you express a story, they'll care. So the key to making people feel surprise, the key to surprising people is to use emotion. Emotion is what we do. It's our currency. It's what we buy jokes with. It's what we sell jokes with. It's emotion's everything. And by emotion, I really mean your tone of voice, because that really is going to be everything. So now, the most important thing for you to know in terms of telling a joke to a crowd is this. It must sound clear. That is why people don't laugh at jokes you find funny. It's because they don't know how you feel about it. And if they don't know how you feel, they can't know how to feel. So the key takeaway from the performance side is simply this. You must always clearly, with your tone of voice, express one of two possible points of view, either good or bad. That is what hooks people in. All right. Now let me go a little bit, double back around for a second. So I want to give you everything you need to know so you can start. So the first thing you need to know is how to write a set of jokes. That's the key. So to do this, I know a lot of people start to get worried like, I don't know how to write jokes. I'm going to show you how. The most important part of the structure is to know these three parts of a joke. There's a premise, a setup, and a punchline. That is the essence of all jokes. Premise, setup, punchline. Now, if you tell a story, you're still doing the same premise, setup, punch that joke tellers do. You're just doing it a little bit more obfuscated. So let me tell you how each part of a joke works. The premise of a joke is what the joke is about. It's not what the plot of the joke is. It's what the joke is about, like the concept behind it is why you are telling the thing you're about to tell us. That is what the premise is. It's almost always an emotion. Almost always. And the key is it must be expressed clearly. Like, I mean, you cannot be subtle with, when you're talking to crowds, you must clearly get that point across. You must love, not like. You must hate, not, dislike. You must be perplexed, not just kind of confused. Stand-up comedy for the stage is stage acting. It's bigger and broader. God forgive me, Uta Hagen, the acting teacher, for saying that, but it's bigger and broader than film acting. Film acting is much more nuanced. So if you're going to do a sketch, go small. But for comedy, for stage comedy, if you want to make a crowd laugh, you need to be clearer than you would one-on-one, and you need to be a little bit bigger than you would. And also, you need to speak a little bit slower than you would otherwise. There's like a very famous statement that all comics say, which is like, if you think you're going too slow, go slower. It is the thing that trips people up. So, here is how you write jokes. You need to know the three things. The premise, which is what you're talking about. It's how you feel about whatever it is that inspired you to talk and tell a joke. Then there's the setup. The setup is like the meat and potatoes. It's like the jokey joke part of the joke. It's the specific example. It's the character you're talking about. It's that thing that takes it from an idea and puts it right in front of the audience. It has one job, and the job is to make the next sentence, the punchline, a surprise. Your punchline has only one job, and it is to surprise. Okay, I am rushing through that. I apologize for that. It's because it takes a little bit of time to understand that there's two ways to write jokes. There is, you can work by essentially problem solving, which is when you sit down and you go, I'm going to think up some comedy, and you take an idea and you hit it from different angles, which I encourage you to do, but that is very much a part that you need to learn how to do. And I believe that it is the second of the two ways to learn how to write jokes. There's a much, much more intuitive, much easier way to write jokes in the beginning that actually I still use probably more than anything else. And it's how Dave Chappelle writes jokes. It's how Bill Burr writes jokes. It's how, I know it's how Brennan writes them. It's pretty much it's how Rock does it. And it's simply this. If you want to write really great jokes that don't sound like joke book jokes, that don't sound like dad jokes, that sound like you from day one, that really hit the gut, not like, haha on the head. You need to capture the things that you find funny as you find them funny. No one's ever really thought of a great punchline. It's always just kind of hit them. So here is the most amazing thing. It took me about 8 years to figure this out. If I can share it in 1 second. It works like this. Every time you laugh out loud, you just wrote a joke. All you have to do is record it immediately. Here is why. Whenever we laugh out loud at anything, we see something, we'll experience something, and then we'll have a comment on it. It'll either be something we think to ourselves or something we say to somebody else, and then we laugh. The thing is, we generally forget that thought that we have that makes us laugh. So we just assume we see something and then we laugh. We don't. We see something, experience something, we think a thought, we either say it or don't say it, and then we laugh. That thought is a punchline, and it works perfectly. Change nothing about it. Whatever directly led you to think that thought, that's your setup. Change nothing about it. That's all you need to do. And you need to record it within 10 seconds of thinking it. Because the problem with finding something funny, the only downside with the fact that we laugh because of surprise that relieves tension and pain, is that once that tension and pain has been resolved, it's gone. It's why you can't hear a joke over and over and over again and still find it funny like you used to. It's because the original tension's gone. The second it is released, it's like a clock that's counting down. You have about 10 seconds. I have on my iPhone, I have a widget I put in that all it does is it goes, I tap it and immediately starts recording, because it's that important to me that I need to capture it. So when next time you think a funny thought and nothing makes you laugh, you see a sign, it's goofy, you laugh, you're hearing something you don't approve of in the news, it makes you think something and you say a derisive comment, someone says something stupid to you and you're like, you want to tell them off and it makes you laugh, instead of doing that thing, pull your phone out and immediately record what directly happened, that's your setup, and the funny thought that it came from it, that's your punchline. If you're doing it correctly, you'll sound like you're laughing. In every one of your, like your joke recordings, you'll have a little bit of laughter on it. That is the key. If you capture that, you will have been able to create jokes. Now, sometimes you'll hear, you'll think something will make you laugh, and then you'll want to tell somebody else, and they'll just look at you and they're like, I don't get it. That's when you need to add a premise. If ever your joke that you recorded that you thought was hilarious, when you play it back to yourself, if you're like, I don't know if strangers will have enough information, ask yourself this question. I think this is funny because, and whatever that answer is, that's your premise. It's always like, I think this is funny because, whatever. I'll give you an example. Like I used to live in a Koreatown, which is in Los Angeles, and I used to live there, and I lived next to this gigantic Korean grocery store called something. I have no clue because it had nothing in English anywhere about it. Great place. When I was moving out of Koreatown, the Korean grocery people, they bought a gigantic sign in English. And I was like, awesome. And what made me laugh was that they didn't bother to get the name of their store. Like that wasn't what they put, an English sign. They had a gigantic sign that said, no dogs allowed, except for seeing eye dogs. And I was like, oh man, you almost nailed it with that one. But who is that sign for? Like blind people, they would love to read it. And it made me laugh because I thought no one else screws up a disability so badly. Like you never go to a store here, attention deaf people, everything is free. Hello deaf people, everything is free if you're deaf. Can you hear this? Sorry. So that is what it has. I saw the sign, it made me feel something, and I captured it. That is all you have to do. Now, the key to it, though, is it has to be authentic. That is the key. They always people say that it's funny because it's true. That doesn't mean that the facts have to be true. What has to be true, what anchors a joke, is the authenticity of it. You have to sound like you mean it. Like you have to sound like you're happy. You have to sound like you're sad. It's a requirement, because if they don't believe it, they won't believe you, and then they won't go and laugh. The reason that we find things surprising, the reason that exists as a concept, is because our brain is constantly seeking patterns. It's constantly scanning and scanning, looking for danger, looking for things it recognizes. And so as you walk down the street, you'll see cars, your brain will go car, car. If you see a green light, you don't walk in front of it because you know the pattern of what will happen. So whenever people hear someone who doesn't actually believe what they say, it sounds false and they recognize it. And so they can't tell a joke. But if you believe it, if it sounds like you believe it, then you make them believe it too. If, and here is the most important part, all of this is based on the idea that they like you. If the audience does not like you, there is nothing you can do. So the most important thing, the thing that all comics do right in the beginning, the thing you must do on stage, and that if you do it, generally it doesn't really matter what you do after that, they're going to like you, you're set. But you have to do 3 things up front to make an audience like you. And it works on stage, and it works off stage too. It works everywhere. The 3 things you have to do are: 1, be confident; 2, be likable; and 3, express vulnerability. All 3 of those things can be done mechanically. So if you're nervous, you can still look like you're confident. If you're angry and in a bad mood, you're just not a nice person. You can still seem like you're likable. And vulnerability is the easiest part. I'll go step by step to explain each one. Confidence is stillness. If you want to look like you've been doing comedy forever, if you want to grab the attention of everybody and look like, this is the person who's not new, not nervous, all you do is plant your feet and do nothing. That's it. If you do that, congratulations, you come across to crowds as confident. Then, to come across likable, even if you're Adolf Hitler, just the most horrible human being ever, all you have to do to come across likable is smile. In fact, the meaner of a comic you are, the more you need to smile. Look at Anthony Jeselnik, could be a proof positive of that. Also Sam Kinison. Both of them, smile.
Could you say that again, please?
Sure. To make an audience like you, you must do 3 things. You must be confident, you must be likable, you must express vulnerability. You must exude those 3 characteristics. All 3 of those can be manufactured and presented to the audience. Now, if you feel those 3 things, great. But if you don't, to seem confident, you just plant your feet and don't move. It is shuffling of the feet, it is stammering, it is fidgeting. Those things are what tell an audience you are not confident, you do not belong here, they get nervous. Stillness, specifically with your feet, is the most important thing for looking like you own the place. Just don't move. Then smile. Someone who is not nervous and who's smiling, that person, everyone looks at them and goes, that person's in charge. But it's not enough to make an audience like you. To make them like you, you must express vulnerability. There's 2 ways of doing that. Either through compliments or through self-deprecation. Those are the 2 ways to do it. I don't like self-deprecation, but it's not like a rule. I just don't like it. Self-deprecation has a better function to me. It's a way of getting out of trouble if you say something stupid or you say something that's like, offensive. Self-deprecation will get you out of that bind. Compliments won't. But compliments will do the same function that self-deprecation does, which is it makes you low status. It's an olive branch. You're going, I want you to like me. So whenever you compliment somebody, you tell them, all right, you're somebody I need to compliment. The trick with complimenting a group or with anyone at a show is not to compliment how they look. The key is to compliment a choice. That is the key to all compliments, by the way. Never compliment anything that they were not responsible for. If someone is pretty, do not compliment them for being pretty, because you do not know what they've gone through in their life. There might be problems. But if a person's got like gigantic muscles, right, because they obviously work out, definitely compliment that, because that's a choice that they made. If they see something about their clothes that you like, compliment that. Whenever you see somebody and you compliment something, that it's going, I see you, I like this. If a confident, likable person extends an olive branch, human beings are programmed to like that person. And that is all you need for them to feel empathy. And that's the key, because when they feel empathy, then when you tell them you had a rough day, they feel, hey, I want to know about it. It's how you can make them look at a topic the way that you look at it, so that then they can be surprised the way you're surprised. So that's the key for that. It's just those 3 things: stillness, smile, compliment a choice. Bang. That's the performance side. Speak slower than you would in person, which was a very hard thing for me, I speak quickly, to get over. But that is what destroys clarity. That is also what makes you seem nervous or doesn't come across the same way you think it would in the real world. And then to write the jokes, the material, the thing that people seem to fear the most, like that idea, you're already writing jokes. The key is to capture them as you're finding them funny. And remember, it's like whenever you laugh out loud, you just wrote a joke. The key is to grab and go, what just happened? That's your setup. What was that thought I just had that made me laugh? That's your punchline. And record it. Don't write it down. You'll write it down later, but record it first, because what you cannot capture in writing is the tickle, that thing that makes you find funny. Like that you can't. There's no words for that. But whenever you record it and play it back, you'll always remember it, and you'll be able to express it. If you ever have a joke and you don't think a stranger will laugh because of, like, oh, this is inappropriate for this situation, or these people won't get me, the key to making them get you, the key to making anyone laugh at the thing you find funny, is to authentically express why you find it funny first. It's the first sentence of your joke should be why it is funny to you. I think this is funny because isn't it crazy how people or my girlfriend It's the thing, it's the authentic part that they'll connect to. And then once you got that part done, you tell them what happened that made you laugh and the thought. Now that's one of two ways to write. By the way, it relies on inspiration, which is for the better jokes that way, but you can't rely on inspiration only. You have to be able to sit down every day and write. Now to do that, that's problem solving. Like joke writing, like where you sit down and you go, I'm going to talk about my family. Or you're going to write to a task. I'm going to write this pilot. I need to talk about this situation. What am I going to do to put these characters in this wacky situation? That is problem solving. And it's something that takes a few hours to explain. It's one of the things, there's just too many moving parts. But it's learnable. It's very learnable. And just like everything else in comedy, there's a clearly defined definition for each part, and everything kind of works its way through. Like there's no exceptions. That's why I love comedy so much, is that there's this series of rules that are never violated, no matter who it is, no matter how disparate the style. Stephen Wright and Dane Cook follow the same set of rules for doing well and follow the same set of rules for not doing well. Daniel Tosh and Sarah Silverman and Kevin Hart, they have to follow the same rules. There's like the guidelines. I always think about comedy as like the craft of comedy is an objective form with like grammar. It's like it's just a construct. The art comes from bringing yourself to it, which, by the way, is really why people come to comedy. It's not just to hear the jokes. They like the jokes, but it's to hear who you are. And so when you get the funny part out of the way and you get to express yourself, it's a joy. So now let me tell you how you get on stage, and then the last part was the money part. So here is how you get on stage. There's two ways to do it when you're brand new: open mics and new talent shows. Open mics, everyone knows what an open mic is. You go to a place, you sign up, maybe online, maybe in person, maybe you put your name in a hat. They call your name up. You go on stage for somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. You tell your jokes to a group of people who are not paying too much attention, but that's how you learn. You learn literally just through the repetition of it. And by the way, comedy is like acting in that it is done through repetition. You've got to do it over and over and over and over and over again. Just like joke writing, you got to do as many of them as possible. 1 to 10, by the way. For every 10 jokes you write, 1 you'll keep. So if you're keeping more than that, you need to be a little more selective. But if you're worried, like, why is only 1 out of 10 of my jokes any good? That's exactly where you need to be. And it doesn't really change too much also. So just never worry about writing bad jokes. We all write so many bad jokes. There's a joy to it, to just, that joke sucks. It's just the key is not to write the best jokes. The key is to write as many of them as possible to make it as easy as possible, to just kind of get that flow down. So open mics. There's 2 types of open mics. There are comedy open mics. There are music open mics. Comedy open mics are where you bring all your new material. Never repeat a joke at an open mic. And here's how they work. You go there, and they're almost all the same. You'll show up, it'll be at a cafe, or it'll be maybe at a comedy club early in the evening. It'll be some place where it looks like no one's like actually there yet. Like they're just setting up. It's very informal. There's some guy who's there who seems like he's either too tired or he wants to quit. And so he's there. That person's the host. When you go to an open mic, the host is the most important person. You got to meet that person, ask them, hey, here to do the open mic. Don't pretend like you've been doing it forever. Just tell them it's my first time. I'm just trying to do it. Let me know how I do it. They're generally, comics are very supportive. When it's your first time and you've admitted to it, they'll bring you under their wings. They might make fun of you, but rarely. It's generally very supportive. That's comedy open mics. The only rules for those are don't repeat jokes. You want to do all your new stuff there. The trick I found for making the comics listen to, instead of like being in their own material and thinking about their own thoughts, was by telling them, hey guys, what don't you like about these jokes I'm about to tell you? Tell me what you don't like. Comics will then perk up because they love to tell you what they don't like. And the one good thing about that was then they were engaged. So if you ever decide to do a comedy open mic, ask them to tell you what they don't like. It seems counterintuitive, but they'll be very supportive about it. Music open mics are way more fun because music open mics are an actual show for us. For other musicians, they're an open mic. But when a comic goes to a music open mic, they're so happy to see us. Even mics that say we don't take comics, that is the most fun. Go to music open mics when you have built some material that you've tried out at comedy open mics, and like the best of each one of those mics. Once you have a set of that, go to a music open mic and perform it. To develop as a comedian efficiently, you must do two things. You must constantly be writing new material, and you must be constantly performing the same set of jokes. At the same time, you need to be always doing new material and all the same set. The reason is telling new jokes, writing new jokes makes you better as a comedian. But telling the same set of jokes that you know work, jokes that you can lean into, that you can like judge, those are what make you a better performer. The way that you can balance that in the beginning of your career is by doing comedy open mics, new material, the best of at music open mics. Open mics are one of two ways to start. There's no getting around them, by the way. Everyone does them. You will do them, but they're one of two ways. The other way you can start is by doing a new talent show. New talent shows are way, way more fun. They're fun. But you have to promote, which is no fun if you don't have people who want to come see you. So unfortunately, comedy is kind of like high school where it rewards the popular kids a little bit in the beginning. But if you have a group of people that want to come see you, so you have a group of friends or coworkers who will come out to see you, then you can do a new talent show. New talent shows, they're like why we get into comedy in the first place. They're packed houses. They're all laughing at everything. It's great. Now, you still might bomb, by the way, but it's not bad. But that's the fun thing to do. If you're going to do a new talent show, you're going to want to do them at a club. Comedy clubs are pretty much the only good place to do a new talent show. Don't waste your friends on like a restaurant or something like that. Go find a club. To book a new talent show, this is all you got to do. Call the club and say, hi, who produces your new talent showcase? Call it a showcase. That's always what they call them, showcases. Who produces your new talent showcase? They'll say, blah, 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 some name, right? Go, oh, that's wonderful. May I get his email address, or could I leave my contact information with you to give to him? Now, generally, the person answering the phone is not going to want to take your information down because they're just lazy, generally. I used to work the phones at a club. That's just how it is. But they will give you the producer's information because they know that the producer will be happy to see you. You want to contact this person, and don't believe anything that a new talent producer tells you, because they're going to try to make it sound like you're getting discovered, that Jesus is going to be performing there, and you're going to get rich and famous and all these things. Those are all lies. There's never been a time when an agent has come to a show and been like, I need to see brand new comedians. That's what I'm looking for. They're not. But they're still great shows. Just don't believe anything that someone tries to puff it up. They're going to want to know that you can promote. That is the single and only thing that matters for those shows. If you cannot meet the promotional requirement, do not tell them that you can. It is a stain. You don't want to do it. You just trust me on this one. You don't want to do it. But if you can, it's worth doing. The way to book it, again, you just call the club, whatever your local club is, and you go, hey, who produces your new talent showcase? They'll tell you the name. You go, hi, can I get their contact information? And then you just call them or email them, text them, and just say, hey, I'm a new comic, and I'm interested in doing your showcase. Give me a call. And then they'll believe me, they'll reach out, and then they will guide the conversation. Now, when you go to a new talent showcase, they're different than open mics in that in open mics, everyone's just kind of informal. New talent shows, everyone's trying to be on their game. If you book a new talent show, you want to show up at least a half hour before the show, at least. Do not show up on time. Show up early. You want to get there early. You want to find out who the host is. You want to find out who the host is because that's the person who's going to be taking care of you. So you go up to that person, you go, hey, just want to check in. Always check in with the host. If you don't check in, literally you go up to them, I'm checking in. There's a good chance you might get thrown up really late at a show or really early in a show. You only want to go up between spots 3 and 8. So, by the way, when you talk to the producer, ask them, go, hi, I'd like to go up in somewhere between 3 and 8. Is that cool? You just have to ask. And they'll say yes. If they say, oh, well, those are full, go, oh, okay. When's the next time you have a spot open in 3 to 8? Because if you don't go up in that window, it's a waste of your time. It will be a very bad experience for you. But if you go up in that window, there's a chance you're going to do comedy for the rest of your life because you will feel like a king. When you do a set at a club or any place, there's a thing called the light. There are few things that can get you a bad reputation or in trouble more than running the light. It is one of the few rules comedy has. Don't steal anyone else's material and do not run the light. The light is either going to be a cell phone that someone will wave at you. They'll be like this, they'll be lit. Or it'll be a light somewhere on the wall or on the ceiling that will turn on. The reason you go early to the club and talk to the host is to find out, hey, where's the light? You ask them and they'll point it out. They'll either say, I'm the light, or they'll go, look over there, it's over there. But you always need to be cognizant of where the light is and if it's on. When a light turns on, you generally have 1 minute to go. Do not go longer than that minute. People will wish death upon you. Like, I cannot express to you how much people hate that. It is the worst, next to maybe killing somebody at the club. I've been in fist fights at shows, and I got in less trouble than when I ran the light. I guess it's just how it is. Because when you run the light, you're stealing time from everyone after you, and it's kind of a rude thing. So that's all. You always want to know that. If you show up early, if you meet your promotional requirement, if you do not run the light, you will make all the friends you can at that club. There are people you should always meet at a comedy club, always. Make friends with the bouncer. Make friends with the wait staff. The wait staff, 9 out of 10 times, is going to be who passes you at that club. Because the owners, the management, they don't watch a lot of the shows because they're there for so long. So they have the wait staff give them feedback. If the wait staff likes you, there's very few things better than that. At the Comedy Cellar in New York is like the best club in America. The wait staff is they're the only people who pass you. That's who passes you. SD, the owner, does not even look at you until the wait staff says that she should.
Excuse me.
Hmm?
My bad. So I just have a question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what if like you're not even done with your joke and you have like 1 minute left? What do you do?
So you just acknowledge that. You go, oh, man, I have the world's greatest joke about Jesus and hookers, whatever it is, but I don't have time, guys. I'll see you next time. You just stop it. No, I've seen so many times a new comic will be like, well, I just want to finish the joke because it's so good. There is never a time, ever, when running the light is acceptable to other comics. Never. Like, literally never. And It's like one of the only things you can do that immediately it's a bad reputation. It is. People always fear bombing. Everyone always talks about, I don't want to do badly on stage. I'm afraid about bombing. Bombing is nothing. If you bomb on stage, if the audience doesn't like you, just smile and keep going. The comics will love you because every one of us has been there. And we love to see someone who's going down in flames and does not letting it bother them. But if you run the light and you're killing, but you run the light, we never want to see you again. Like it's just how that is, because we're all selfish people, and when somebody takes from us, we hate. And so it's like one of the few things you can ever do, but it's never cool to run the light. You never ever want to do it. Now, sometimes you'll miss the light. Like it'll be up, and then you're like, has it been on for so long? I can't tell. If it ever blinks, if it ever flashes, if someone ever waves the light, get off that second and get ready to apologize to somebody. But do not, whatever you do, the quickest way to get banned from a show or from a club is to see the light, it's flashing, and to keep going. Oh, and by the way, you must acknowledge it. So whenever you see it, you just nod. They're looking at you. You don't have to make a big show. You just, some gesture that someone who's looking at you, looking for a gesture, could recognize. Because that's how they know, all right, he saw it. Then either to turn it off or they'll leave it on. But you always acknowledge it. It's important to do that. That's all I can say about the light. That's about it. In terms of order, sometimes people say, like, how should I start my set? Start your set with your very best joke. Do not save it for last. Put it right up front. Your very best joke, number 1. Put your second best joke, number 2. Put your third best joke last. But for your first 2 jokes, best jokes, because you want to knock it out the ballpark immediately. If your first joke lands and you're confident and you're likable, they think they're seeing the next coming of Christ. And that's, everyone wants that. Everybody wants to be there when someone they don't know kills it, because there's nothing better than that. So always put your best joke first. Also, by the way, it'll then make your crappy jokes even better, because if they like you and they think you're funny, you can coast. No one remembers anything in the middle of your set ever. You always want to end with a laugh. If you want to turn a laugh into an applause break, you just end it with, and thank you, good night. And that will always take a laugh into an applause break. It's a way of trampolining a joke at the very end. It's a little trick. If you want to sound like it's whatever you're saying is real, slow your voice down and speak in evenly spaced syllables like I'm doing here. It's how people believe what you're saying. And if you have a material that you think this might be offensive, someone might get offended. 1, they're probably going to get offended. But 2, you can still tell it. You just have to buy it with pain. What offends somebody when you tell a joke is not the content of the joke. It's the person telling the joke. If you don't have the right to talk about this topic to the audience, then they will get offended. But if you have earned that right through pain, then you can talk about anything. So if you ever need to make sure that the audience is with you, in the beginning of your joke, explain to people why you're allowed to say it, and make it about the pain you have personally felt. Not that you should be allowed to, not that you want to take power away from something, not that you think taboos are stupid. Those things people don't care about. But if you tell somebody authentically, I want to talk about this because I've experienced this pain, then they will allow you, they'll suspend their disbelief. So always remember that if you want them to allow you to say it, you must give them permission to laugh. And what gives someone permission to laugh is pain. Pain is what will do it. All right, so, oh yeah, the last thing is the money. People ask me about how you make money in comedy. There's a lot of money in comedy, but it's primarily one of 2 ways in the beginning. You either tour or you produce. Producing a show lets you stay in town. So if you have a day job or you can't go on the road, producing is how you'll make your money. You can make that from day one. Touring, more fun, less work, a little bit lower pay, but that requires you to go on the road. If you decide you want to tour, that's like generally 9 out of 10 comedians go that route. Then you have to be aware of the 3 tiers of a show. There's a MC, a feature, and a headliner. The MC is the host, the person in the beginning. They do about 10 minutes. That's what you'll do first in your career, generally between years 0 to years 3. That's the MC spot. Then there's the person who goes in the middle. That's called the feature act. They do between 20 and 25 minutes usually. People who are feature acts are generally between 3 and 10 years of experience. It's kind of a window. Then there's the headliner. Headliner does 45 to an hour 15. They are generally been doing it 8 or longer. Now those are rough guides. What matters is the time. You have to have time. So to MC, you need to have 10 solid showcase minutes. That means 1, everything works. Every single joke you tell, they all work. 2, you get a laugh at least every 15 seconds. 3, 2 applause breaks. If you got that, you can MC. MCs generally are cheerful. MCs are usually high energy. Sometimes they do crowd work. Sometimes they don't. But you got to have that, or don't even try it. Don't even try to showcase. If you want to feature, even though you're going to do 20, 25, you need to have 40. You have got to have almost double what you're going to need, because when it's going well, great. But if it doesn't go well, you need to have material or you'll never get invited back. Like if they see you and then you blank and have nothing, you're in trouble. But if you go, all right, I need 40. If you have 40 minutes that works, then you'll be fine. Do not try to feature until you have that. If you want to headline, headlining used to be that you had to have an hour, right? Hour 15, and you already knew what you were doing by that point. But now because of social media, a lot of people are able to headline much, much sooner than before. So the real rule for headlining is if you can draw a crowd, you can headline. And at that point, if you can draw a crowd, generally you can make people laugh because they're there to see you. The MC and the feature, it's kind of like a service industry job where like they're not there to see you, so you got to kind of earn it. But once they like you, you're set. Hey, did you reach out to Sean, by the way? All right, good. Sorry, that was inside comedy talk. Sean. So headliners make generally $1,500 a week if they don't draw. Like if they're just Joe Nobody from nowhere working at a club and you've never heard of them, but they're funny, $1,500 a week. If you are able to draw, you'll get what's called a door deal. Door deals start at 50% of the door. You keep 50%, the club keeps. As you become more established, they give you a higher amount, 50 to 85%. Celebrities get 100% of the door. Generally, few other people do, unless it's like a lesser known club. Now, there's not just clubs. Generally, there's also things called one-nighters. One-nighters are actually probably what you'll start doing. And they're simply gigs that are only one night. They don't put you up. They don't put you, wow, it's a lot of ringing things happening. So they don't put you up, but it's like generally within 2 hours of travel time. And so those are generally, they don't pay as well. A one-nighter, when you headline, will make you somewhere between $200 to $400 if you're lucky. Feature acts will get paid about $125 a night on the road, and they'll get about $100 on a one-nighter. MCs don't tour just because of gas prices and the fact it pays so little. MCs are almost always local comedians in every city. So for instance, whatever city you're in probably has end up being your first gig will be, you'll be that then, the tour headliner comes in, and that's how you get to meet a lot of people. The most important thing for career progression, besides hard work obviously, is networking. It's being friendly. It's always being in a good mood and being willing to provide value. That is the key. If you ever want to get on a show, ask the person, hey, what can I do? And don't ever say like, well, I'm funny. They should put me up because I'm funny. Everyone's funny. It's almost like a joke, like one of those kind of like ways that you know someone's new is that they'll tell you that they're funny. It's like, of course you're funny. But remember that everybody, if you add value, That's how people move forward. Find a home club. That's important too. So whatever your local club is, you want to go there, you want to hang out as much as possible and get to know everybody. Like just drinking heavily at a comedy club does not ingratiate yourself with people. Just hanging out all night at a comedy club doesn't do it. Meet the staff. Meet them first, introduce yourself, leave. But get to know everybody. That's the key. And don't ask for anything in the beginning. It will be offered to you once they know you. If you're asking for things up in the beginning, sometimes it works, but generally people will not like that. But if you're just a cool person who's there, who's like, hey, what can I do? It's very quickly you move in. Comedy is very shy. Comedians are shy. They don't like dealing with strangers, but once they know who you are, once they know that you're cool, then they're very insular and they bring you in. The trick is just to make sure in that beginning to just be like, what can I do for you guys? Is there anyone want coffee? Can I get someone coffee? You know, hey, what can I do? Is there anyone need to pick up some lunch for somebody? Like, do whatever you can do. And that is, and we all did, by the way, all of us did. I handed out flyers when I started in New York. I handed out flyers 4 to 5 hours every night so that I could do 3 to 5 minutes after Dave Chappelle at like 1 a.m. to nobody, because they all left. But I did that for years because that was the way in. Those are like the dues. I mean, I'm still paying dues. You never stop paying dues. But find that thing that you can do that adds value. And that's the quickest way in. And then always be writing. And then, I wish someone would have told me this when I was newer. Follow the 300-foot rule. Simply put, do not talk shit about anything or anyone within 300 feet of the venue that you just performed, because it will bite you in the butt. 300 feet. Inside those 300 feet, even if that's the worst comic in the world, if they go, what do you think of this guy? He's the worst comic in the world. You're just like, yeah, I admire what he's doing. You cannot, don't mock him. Just, it has got to be just, I like it. Trust me. That has blown up in everyone's faces. It's like, but the 300-foot rule keeps you safe. Once you're 300 feet away at a diner with somebody else, then you can unload. But if you want to stay safe, because you don't know who knows who. So you might be making fun of your friend, like, oh, that guy, blah, 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 blah. And then overheard it is his best friend, who also just happens to manage the club or something like that. It's always those people you don't see. There's no win in it. There's never been a time when someone's been like, hey, give me your opinion. And you're like, bop, 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 bop. And they're like, wow, I really like you. That was a good thing. I really like how mean you are to somebody who's not there. I want you around. It's fun to gossip. It's fun to talk shit. It's a bad career move. All right, so that is the money. Oh, and then producing, by the way, you can stay in town. Producing is, to me, that's how I made my living for years and years and years. Producing, you can do fundraisers, you can do new talent shows, you can do free shows, and you get paid by the bar. There, to me, I think the money's better. The only hard part is that if you stay in town and you build a following up, there you have to constantly be writing new material. So that is difficult. But it is, if you don't like going on the road, if you don't like touring, producing to me is, I think, the better way to go. But you have to tour. You have to tour, but producing makes more money, which is nice. All right. That's it. Did we get any questions?
Excuse me.
Yes.
So how can you start to tour and get money the fastest way possible?
Okay, so to tour, you need to have a showcase set. It's called a Showcase 7. When you audition, when you showcase, you're never going to get more than 7 minutes. You'll be a guest spot. Generally, you'll go up first. Your showcase set must have a laugh every 8 to 15 seconds at the latest, but hopefully every 8 seconds. Every single joke works. You get 2 applause breaks minimum, and there's a clear persona that shines through. If you have all those parts, then and only then do you go to clubs. You call the clubs and you go, hi, I'd like to do a guest spot. When you ask for a guest spot, that is code at a club for, I want you guys to look at me so that you can hire me for paid work in the future. You just go, it's casual. You don't act like it's a big deal. You go, yeah, hey, I'm in town. I was wondering if I could do a guest spot. You guys get guest spots? You don't ask for a show that week. You ask for a show at least a month out. You go, like, I'm going to be in town. I got some family here, even if you live there. I'm going to be in wherever the hell I am currently. And then you go, I was just wondering, I'm going to be in town a month from now. If you have any guest spots open, they'll either say yes or no. If they say no, go, all right, cool, that's fine. But don't make a big deal out of it. Make it casual because, again, you need to sound like you've already been there. No one wants to take a chance on somebody new. But you're new, so what are you going to do? You've got to make sure that you sound authentic. Yes, Andrea.
I just wanted to, oh, sorry, let me turn on my video. Quick reminder that questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll circle back around.
So you can put
and
questions in the
ask
chat.
them in the chat. Yeah,
Okay.
just for a future one. Did you want to go ahead and bring up our next
Oh,
speaker,
Sean here?
or
All
do
right.
you, is
So-
that, are you
Yeah,
good with
yeah,
that?
absolutely. That'd be great. So we're going to do the Q&A afterwards. But, all right, guys. So I have, I'm terrible at talking about myself. And I love what I do. But I have a friend, my buddy, and he's just he took he studied with me a while ago. And then his career exploded.
In a
He's
good
done,
way.
what was that?
Exploded in a good way.
Yeah, no, in a good way. Like, yeah, the guy's like has done more than most people on Earth. So, Andre, I think I always feel nervous talking about it. But anyway, I asked him to come down to tell you guys like just a little bit about what it is I do, and then also participate in the Q&A because he's also in his own right one of the finest comedians, I think, in the business. Do you have did I ever send it to you? I texted you. Oh, you're pulling it up?
I lost.
She lost it. Well, here, I'll talk about him. Well, let's see. Sean Kelly has done pretty much everything. You got it?
Yeah.
All right, fine. I was trying to rack in my brains what the TV shows are. All right, so hold on, everybody. Andrea.
Okay, guys, I'm going to jump. He disappeared again. This is
Okay.
so embarrassing. Hold on just a second. You guys are going to be so excited when I find him to spotlight him. Sean, can you turn your video maybe on and off a
Sean.
couple times?
Yeah, I think you got me.
Hey, how you
Okay.
cut the video on?
All right.
I need to show you, though.
Yeah, you got me, right?
We got
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, we hear you. We just.
I see him.
Here we go.
We see him. We
Oh,
see
and
him.
you're spotlighting. Okay, great.
Yeah.
This is
How you turn it?
primo.
turn the
Everything's
video
great. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mute people for a second, but we are going to bring up Sean Kelly. He is the executive producer and star of Storage Hunters, season 6 on True TV. He's been doing stand-up comedy for 20 years. He's headlined sold-out shows in over 120 cities in the UK. He just
Created
has
several
tons
TV
of-
shows.
Several TV show creator of several TV shows. He's
Has his
done
own club?
everything. We are very lucky to have him. Please welcome to the screen, Sean Kelly.
Hey, Sean.
All right. Thanks, Andrea. Hey, everybody. How you doing? I'm sure you guys are enjoying listening to Matt because I took his class. He's absolutely spectacular. Thank you for that great introduction. So I created and sold my own TV show that I starred on called Storage Hunters. I did 6 seasons on True TV. And then I moved to the UK and I did it on a BBC owned channel called Dave. I did 6 seasons in the UK. And then I've been doing stand-up comedy for 20 years. I had my own comedy club in San Diego where I performed on 7 shows every week for 8 consecutive years. So I did thousands of shows. And while I was living in the UK filming for the BBC, I did 2 sold-out comedy tours around the UK. In 2016, I did 120 cities. In 2017, I did 120 cities. Plus, I did 50 shows at the Fringe Festival in Scotland. So I've been doing this for a long time. And why I want to come out and talk to you guys today is because even though I've been doing a lot of comedy for a long time, the comedy promoter in the UK wanted me to come up with a whole brand new act, which is not easy to do because it takes you a long time to build an act. So I ended up taking a class through Matt, learning his techniques, absolutely spectacular, helped me develop a lot of material very quickly that I was able to use to go out on the tour. And so when Matt said, hey, would you come and talk to the students and tell them a little bit about me and the course and everything, I said, absolutely, because I'm 100% a believer. And And then also he said maybe participate in a Q&A, as far as like, because I've got some background, obviously doing comedy tours, producing, thousands of shows and performing on lots of shows, and also working in television. So that's me in a nutshell. And thank you for having me here. So I don't know if those guys are still there, but I guess
Sorry
what I was,
about that. I'm here.
Excuse me, I have a question. Hello?
Yes.
Yep.
Who's that?
Yes. Have you ever worked with Cat Williams?
Have I ever worked with Cat Williams? No, I have not worked with Cat. No. I wish I had. He's extremely talented.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question. I know you can't see me because it's dark, but that's me right here. So to name a few, how many artists? How many comedians have you ever worked with in your career that come to mind?
Oh, hundreds of comedians. So I had my own comedy club in San Diego for 8 years, where I produced 7 shows a week, every week for 8 years. I had comedians coming through there left and right. So I've met thousands of comedians, and then working in TV and stuff. I've met tons of other comedians, worked with a lot of comedians. I used to be so when I started off, you work your way up through comedy. So I started off as an open micer like everybody else, just going to coffee shops at different places doing comedy. And then I started getting booked. And then from there, I worked my way up to a middle act and then a headlining act. But somewhere in between being a feature and a headliner, I started working as an opener for headliners. So I used to open up for people like Dennis. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dennis Miller or Bob Saget, or just guys like that, where they would do. These guys were able to sell out big arenas, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 seat arenas, and I would be like their opening act. That would go out and warm up the audience for the first half an hour, and then they would come out and do their hour. In the UK, I had my television show, and I had over 120 celebrities, all comedians, come on my TV show throughout the season. And these are all huge comedy stars in the UK. So I got to know a lot in the US, a lot in the UK. So yeah, lots and lots.
And
Is the opener the same thing as the feature?
No. So an opener is someone who is the very first person on the bill that goes up and gets the show started. Usually in a club setting, that might take like
right there.
might be 5 or 10 minutes. And when you're opening for a headliner and it's a theater show, there's club shows and then there's theater shows. In a club show, the opener might go up and do 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10. In a theater show, you might be required to do a half an hour as the opener. So do you guys know that guy, who was that guy who did that movie, Deuce Bigelow? Rob Schneider. So yeah. So like Rob Schneider. So I did some opening gigs for him, and he would want you to do for some real weird reason, exactly 25, and then don't do a second over and get off the stage. And if you did more than 25, he'd scream at you. But that was his thing. He wanted a 25-minute opener and then get off and let him do his thing. So each headliner is kind of different. Yeah.
I had one. My other question was, so the last 5 years, it has been like a lot of people in the US and in the UK. Even up and coming comedians as well. Again, to this present day in the last 5 years, how many known successful, well, not even successful, but how many known comedians that come to mind? I mean, just at least 3 that you can tell us that you have worked with in the last 5 years that is successful right now. I mean, just for like
I want to speak next after this.
Yeah. So you're asking like which comedians have I worked with in the last
Bob Saget is pretty huge.
5 years?
Bob Saget, old as well, my man.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. Yeah, okay. So you're asking like me. Okay. So here's what happens when you're at you're as an opener or a feature act, you're working with lots of comedians on your way up. Once you start headlining, you almost never work with other comedians because you're off doing your own thing. Like when I was in the UK for 2016, 2017, I'm headlining theaters all across the country. People are buying tickets to come out and see me. And you never really come across the other headliners because they're off doing their things. So you actually, when you're an opener or a feature act, that's probably when you're going to come most in contact. But once you kind of graduate to that level where you can actually, people will buy tickets to come see you, you're mostly not going to be working with any headliners. However, I will say that you still do some fun stuff. So like about 2 years ago, I did like a fundraiser at the Comedy Store in LA, and it was me and it was, like Bill Burr was there, and Matt, what's the guy that Steve Byrne. I don't know if you guys know Byrne. Steve Byrne's huge. He's had like several TV shows, lots of specials. I think Bill Burr is probably one of the biggest comics in the world right now. So
Steve
yeah,
Byrne.
but just so you know how
Steve
it goes,
Byrne,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah, you're probably gonna start off with people younger. Like, I don't know if you've watched any Amazon specials lately, but there's a young man, Chinese American guy. His name is Jimmy O Yang, and Jimmy, huge Amazon special. I think probably about, was that 2 years ago? His huge Amazon special. He's filming a new one right now. I'm the
Can
guy.
I say something? Can I add
I'm the one that
something?
convinced Jimmy to get into the business.
Can I add something? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
first of all, Sean, I just want to apologize because I think there's a lot of people on here that's waiting for good information, and not the fact that you would have to come on after Matthew has invited you. And if everybody's in this class, then that means that everybody's a nobody. So everybody's trying to learn. So for us to sit here and try to take you to the ringer to see what it is, who you work with, does none of that matter? It don't.
Right.
So please, there's other questions that people want to have answered.
Thank you,
Other
John.
than us authenticating how
John's
you're on
doing
here and why you're on here. So I want to just go ahead and ask a legitimate question because I don't feel like you need to authenticate yourself. So, all right, you got a set. Let's say you're a newbie. It don't matter, right? You don't really have too much experience. You're starting off a set. You're starting to write jokes. You're starting to get a rhythm, right? You're getting comfortable with opening up and getting the crowd going, right? So that way you can get into your set. In the middle of your set, for whatever reason, whatever distraction, a heckler or whatever, but you just lost your point or something like that. How is it that you're able to gather yourself, get back on track, and do it in a manner to where the crowd can't pick up that you just, excuse my language, fucked up? How can you smooth it over and still remain professional and keep your wits about yourself if you've lost your place from your set?
Excuse me, bro. Can you do me a favor? No disrespect. My name is Willie Carrington. I'm from Boston. I just want to answer that question if you don't mind, because I'm just like you guys. I'm a dreamer and a one and two. I want to answer that question for you because I'm an old school rapper, and I also I write. My name is Willie Carrington.
So
Willie
hold
Carrington.
on.
My comedy
As
name
the
is
moderator, I'm going to stop it
I
for
just
just
want
a
to answer the
second.
question.
I'm going to go ahead and mute
let me
you,
answer.
sir. I'm sorry.
Comedy class,
We're going to go ahead
comedy
and
class.
do the answers from Sean, Matt, or myself.
on, we don't care about
and
you.
we'll do one
Thank
question
you.
at a time. Okay.
Yeah, you need to go ahead and start your own.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll answer it.
Go. Should I answer that, or Matt, would you like to answer that?
Here, let me go with it,
Please.
and you can
Yeah.
fill in whatever I leave out.
Okay.
So, I guess there's like two ways of thinking about it. One is, do you mean when somebody, like, if you forget where your place is, like, oh, you're going through your jokes and you go, oh, what am I talking about? Or do you mean when maybe you get distracted or a joke doesn't work and you just lose confidence? Like,
It sounded, hey Matt, it sounded to me like he wanted to know, like, he's up there on stage, he's doing his material, and a heckler jumps in, heckles him, and he starts to get off, and he's like, where do I go from there? How do I like make it transition and feel smooth so the audience doesn't go, oh, he got you? Is that right?
Oh, he just, hold on, let me unmute him.
Well, we'll find out in a second. So I always think that there's so many different nuances, but it's simply this. If you don't show that you're bothered, the audience will never know. If you tell a joke and it just whiffs, but you don't act like, oh my God, my joke whiffed, they don't know that that joke whiffed. They just don't know. Yeah. So if you are not bothered, you can get through it. Now, if you lose your place, right, and you go like, oh man, what am I going to do? Well, what I do is I just pause and acknowledge it, because that's the elephant in the room. And people on stage, if you admit to how you feel, if you're vulnerable, people will love you. So if you're like, man, that was not what I wanted to have happen, or man, whatever, like I am whatever. They will like that because it's being on stage is kind of, to me, it's different in the real world in that on stage, if you admit to your fears, you are embraced for those fears. If you are scared and you feel that way, go on stage, tell the people, I feel scared right now, because it's going to shine through. So I look at things like, if you diffuse whatever that thing is that's working on you, then you can get right past it. Now, if you were talking about like, I can't remember what my next joke is, there's just, you can write your jokes down. Definitely write your jokes down in some way, shape, or form. You can put them on a beer bottle. You can write them on your hands, but that might not be the question you were saying.
I guess it didn't necessarily have. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It didn't necessarily have to be like something negative, like a heckler per se, but like it could be totally the opposite, And then I don't know if this is something normal, but let's just say you've been doing it, you're going through the set or whatever, and you have a joke that you come to find out that it's a stinger, like it's a bomb, it's a heavy one, and it actually works, right? But it works so good that you start laughing or whatever, and you're like, holy shit, I don't know. I don't know where to get back into it because I need structure. So if I'm going to start, I gotta knock one out, knock the other one out. So I have to go in order, for people like that. How do you gain your order back, regardless of what happens, whether it's negative, but how do you make it neutral in every situation so you can gather yourself, get back into your set and finish the joke, whether it's good or bad?
I understand. That makes sense. Finally. Yes, I did. Does Sean, do you want to answer, Andre? Or otherwise I'd say, Sean, what do you do? I know exactly what you're saying now.
I used to do just crowd work for a long time. When you're running a room like I used to run, where we do, 7 shows every single week for 8 years, and sometimes you get the same people coming back. So you start to do a lot of crowd work instead of your material. And so I had these situations every single night, nightly. And what I had to learn was, let's say both scenarios. One is a heckler, or one is a joke that just crushes and you throws your momentum off. Both of them. Let's handle them separately. With the heckler thing, right? What I learned was, one, not to get mean and not to basically just go right back after them, but instead remain calm. If they heckled you, repeat back what that person said to you into the microphone so that everyone's in on it, right? If you are going to go after them. And then let that person dig a deep hole before you start to come back at them. I watched Ralphie May. You guys know Ralphie May, but I watched Ralphie one night. He and I were doing a show together in San Diego, and there was it was a college bar, about 400 people in the room. And this girl was saying such mean stuff to him throughout his set. And I was off to the side and I could hear it. And she was saying these mean things about his weight and stuff. So he started repeating into the microphone the mean stuff that she was saying. And the whole room got on his side because they felt bad for him. So that when he went and destroyed her, he destroyed her so bad she had to get down on her hands and knees and crawl out of the bar. And everyone was laughing at her. And it was beautiful. But because Ralphie was so skilled at handling that. But it's one of these things where you learn, like if you got a heckler and you want to deal with it, you got to repeat back in the microphone so people are in on what this person's saying to you, and if you're going to deal with it that way, and then let them dig their hole before you start to go in and take them down. The other thing I was going to say, like sometimes you go and like you said, what happens when you just crush and you get this huge response and it throws you off? Well, listen, have your set list. Have it somewhere where you can see what your next bit is, and don't be afraid to glance down and take a look at it and get refocused until it all, because what's going to end up happening is too, in that moment where you get that huge laugh and if your mind goes a little blank, that happens to all of us. But what you might find is right there in the moment is a great chance to tag it up and say something and make it funnier. And now you're writing on stage, and then you just got to remember to write that down for later, like, ooh. Because those little moments where your mind goes blank, you get the huge laugh, and you're able to then, and if you could do a topper and tag it, now you're writing and you're taking something where you were like, my mind's blank, and you're turning it into a real positive. And the other thing too is like, if you've got that set list nearby, I normally set, back in the day when I needed my set list, I would have my bullet points out written, big, key words for each one of my bits. And I would just casually glance down at it while people were laughing. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. That's where I need to go next. I think those are the two ways of handling those scenarios.
That answered it perfectly. Thank you. It's like a 3-part question, so I'm not trying to steal the floor. This is the last thing that I wanted to ask. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. So how long do you guys judge your extension of jokes? Like if you get a rolling one and it's doing better than you thought, where is a good cutoff line for every comedian to be like, all right, you know, I had some impromptus that I can add on to that. Where you draw the line with extensions on jokes, you know, if they actually are working.
Tags and toppers. So there are I want to answer the first thing first. But I'll tell you what it is. Here, by the way, the answer to the if you lose your place is I used to have this big fear of forgetting the words, like so much so. And so here are concrete things you can do. One, you should prep. I know it sounds like whatever, but you should prep. Just memorize it. But let's say you didn't. Let's say whatever. Fine. Here's what I currently do. And I find it fun. I have a little set list. I'll write it out, and I'll just give it to random people in the audience. But hey, here it is. And then if I can't remember a joke, I'll be like, hey, what am I supposed to do next? And someone will be like, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'll like, thank you. And it makes it fun. I've written my jokes on my hands for a long time. So the key is this. You can do anything to recover from forgetting material as long as you look like you are doing it on purpose. Let's say you forgot, you blanked, and you have your jokes written somewhere. Take it out, don't hide it. But like, well, I know Sean would say more subtle, but if you show like, bah, all right, and you look at your next one, that will make it theatrical. That will give it away. So you just know that always have a copy of whatever you need with you. Never feel ashamed. That's the key. Okay, then also, what was the last part? Yeah, the tags and toppers. Here's the rule, I believe, for tags and toppers. Every laugh, the tag needs to be shorter than the one before. Like if you're like, you gotta say, you tell a joke, word, big laugh. All right, fine. Your next tag, let's say it took 3 seconds of words, or maybe 10 syllables. That next tag better be 8 or less. Then one after that better be 6 or less. It needs to keep getting shorter. The time in between tags. Also, the jokes need to be getting stronger, meaning like if one joke was like 5 pounds, the topper needs to be like, or the tag needs to be 10 pounds. Each extending tag needs to be a stronger hit than the one before, and it should lead to last one, which is called the topper, and that one you want to go for an applause break. But other than that, there is no rule in terms of how many tags is too many tags. If you can tell a joke and get 1,000 tags, God bless you. That's amazing. My opening joke, I do a repetition joke, and I've like done it 10, 15 times. And I just keep going with it because it's like, so there's no rule for that. But you always want to make sure that each succeeding laugh that you're getting is stronger, and the time in between those laughs is shorter. If those two things are true, you're not going to lose them. If you feel like you start losing them, well, that's when you stop also. So, but if the problem you're having is that you have too many tags, that is a good problem to have. That is a quality problem to have. Andre, what do you think?
I agree.
Andre agrees.
I've been trying to sift through the questions.
Yes,
so
Sean.
I would say that like I 100% agree with what you said. His question, like when you start to get those laughs, then when do you know to move on? And I think it's like you don't necessarily don't always want to wait for it to all completely die down. If you can, you get the laugh and it starts to come down a little bit and you can feel it, boom, hit him with another one, take him back up. But I had a guy who's been around for a long time. His name's Lamont Ferguson. I don't know if you know who Lamont is, but Lamont's been around for a long time. And he came down to my room in San Diego several years ago, and he watched me one night. And I was up on stage, and I was doing a 30-minute set, and about 20 minutes into, I was just crushing, killing. And about 20 minutes into it, the laugh stopped. And Lamont told me afterwards, he said, Sean, he goes, do you know why they were, why they just stopped like that response? I go, well, a lot of times I get to that point and then it's just, and I go to my material. And he's like, no, man. He goes, you're not letting them breathe. He goes, you've worked them so hard, 20 minutes straight of nonstop, like spitting up their drink, slapping, and you're not letting them breathe. You got to space it out and give yourself that timing and that momentum and let them get their breath. Don't just boom, just keep punching them in the face like a speed bag. And I thought, yeah, that makes, and so that was a good lesson to learn, because also once you want to start headlining, you know, you've got to learn that pacing. So what happens when you first start out as an opener or middler, you're so used to just going up, you get your 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you just want to, I want to get nonstop laughs, right? But then what you learn is, as a headliner, you're like, okay, there's got to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. I got to do an hour. And in the UK, on my tours, I had to do 90 minutes. They required 90 minutes in the UK. So I had to do 1.5 hour shows with a 30-minute break at the 45-minute point. So you have to do this arc and then let everybody go get a beer and go to the bathroom, come back, do another arc. So you just learn that pacing, and it'll start to come to you.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree completely. It's interesting, right? Like after like 40 minutes, you can't just bang, 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 because people get tired of that. So that's when you'll throw in things like crowd work. You know, generally it would be like when they're dropping checks, you do some crowd work.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So your club, you said you have a club, and this is for the other gentleman. He said he had a club in San Diego.
I used to, yeah.
You used to, or you do now?
No, I used to. For 8 years, I started a club down there called the Comedy Palace, and I did 7 shows in there every week for 8 years. And the reason why I started it was because, like you guys, I needed a place where I wanted to become better as a comedian. And I used to manage a big newspaper, and I couldn't go out on the road, so I needed a place where I could perform a lot and a place where I could bring in fresh audiences. So everybody in town used to get tickets twice a year. So every 6 months, I would see the same people, but that would give me 6 months to write new material and try to. So I had this place where I could perform. I did one show on Thursday nights, 3 on Friday nights, and 3 on Saturday nights, and I did that every week for 8 consecutive years. Every single week.
I was just asking because I was asking, do you the same process that the gentleman is explaining on how to do comedy, how to go to shows? Do you welcome that at your club too? That's what I was asking.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
How you guys doing? Whatchamacallit? So I think I already asked Matt this, and I like what he said, but I just like more takes on it so I could just get a bigger, you know, what's the name? You know, like a
broader
bigger understanding.
Broader perspective. Okay.
Yes. So in this career, how can you be more? What's the best way to be successful and like make a career out of this?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, Sean.
Okay. Here's my answer to that. What's incredible about this business is that the path to success. There are rules to everything in life except for the path to success. There are no rules to the path, which is really cool, because it's not like, oh, you got to go do this, you got to go take this, and you got to go to this school. No. When it comes to show business and when it becomes the comedy or getting on TV, there are no rules. Like it's literally the wild, wild west. And I could be talking to you today, and you could go on to TikTok and come up with some crazy stuff where you're like telling some great one-liners. And 2 weeks from now, you could blow up and be huge. I mean, that's what's incredible about this business. For me, what I decided to do was I thought, okay, I can't go out. I was kind of like anchored down by my day job in San Diego, where I managed the newspaper, and I had that comedy club that I was running. So I couldn't go out and work the road and get to know other comedians and you know, make the clubs and stuff. So I thought, and I was 40 years old at the time, and I was bald, and I had this face for radio, not for TV. And I thought, okay, I got to create my own thing. So that's why I created my own TV show. I shot my own sizzle reel. I pitched it. All the networks said no. Everybody said no one would call me back. And then I just kept, I didn't care. I just kept going. And then I finally got my own show on TV. And then guess what? It's called Storage Hunters, and it comes on the same time as Storage Wars, which ended up becoming the big show in America. And I'm like, damn it, right? But then guess what? It gets sold internationally. It airs in 125 countries, and it became a huge hit in the UK. So where I never became famous in America, now all of a sudden I'm living in London, and I'm doing sold out comedy tours to my British fans. And I'm living my dream. When I started off in San Diego doing open mics at the Comedy Store, if you had told me that I was going to wind up living in London and doing sold out comedy tours in the UK, I would have been like, you're crazy. But that's the beautiful part about this whole thing is there's no path. You could just figure out some clever way to get yourself out there in front of the world and get an audience and pull people in. And here I'm doing this silly, storage auction show, but I had millions of fans. And I said, oh, by the way, on every interview I did, by the way, I do stand-up comedy. I'm a comedian. I've been a comedian for a long time. And so people started coming out to see me do comedy. And it turns out I've been doing comedy longer than auctions. So people are like, oh, he's like a proper comedian, And so, so that's what I want to tell you is like, there's no hard and fast rules, but what I highly recommend, and this is why I'm here today, you take a class from someone like Matt, just even he offers a 4-week class. That's what I took, 4 weeks. And then what happens is in between there, he lets you go onto his open mics on, I think he does them on Zoom now, and you can test out the material in front of audiences and stuff. But that will give you a foundation of like what you need to know to get you started. He teaches you not just, about writing and performing, all that stuff, but how to get your own little gigs going, because you're going to need stage time. That's a huge part of this game. That's why I have my own club in San Diego. That's why Matt had his own club. You need stage time and audiences in order to get better. And people aren't going to be willing to just hand you out stage time when you first start, because you suck. And that's just the way it goes. So you got to create your own space. We all sucked in the beginning. I sucked for years.
I never sucked. I'm sorry. Oh, you suck too. I never sucked, bro. But I'm appreciating everything he's saying. I'm appreciating everything he's saying. And if I can just interject for a second, I had my hand raised for about 5 minutes. And, 3 or 4 folks just jumped in, so I just figured I'd jump in now. I'm trying to figure out a few things. One, I definitely appreciate the invite. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where the invite came from necessarily. It's kind of odd to me because great marketing. I come from an industry background. I've worked in television. I've lived in Los Angeles, worked in Studio City, worked on some mainstream things that I'm not even going to mention right now. But I've been doing this since '96, and I stopped doing stand-up comedy for a while. Got married, had kids, and kind of fell back. But recently, about 2 weeks ago,
you never stop. It's in your life walk. You can't not do it.
You're right. It is. And I mean, I deal with that in the daily, just in dealing with people, period. So, I mean, that's one thing. But actually performing and going on stage, I had fell back for a while. About a week and a half ago, I decided to go back on stage. Reason being, someone who was very influential in my life and prompted me to take that step when I was 17 years old and jump out there a few years later and go to California, is now back home. They've been away for like 31 years. And this guy comes home and says, okay, we're doing movies and television now. And I'm like, well, I know you went away and probably $250 million up. So I know we got dough right now. So whatever you say is what we're going to do. That's fine. And, next thing I know, I get this invite to this comedy class, which, Sean, I've heard of you before. We've never met, but we've been around a few of the same people. I mean, I've worked with Faison Love, Martin Lawrence. I've done films. I was in Father's Day with Billy Crystal and Robin Williams, and just a whole host of other things.
It's funny. I had the same exact manager as Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. Larry Bresner was his name. The 3 of us, we had the same manager for several years.
Wonderful guys. I mean, I honestly, I really miss Robin. Let me say that first and foremost. On the set of Father's Day, he did something that I think every comedian here needs to hear. And also, I got to tell you guys that it's not about a premise and a punchline. Sometimes the premise can be shit, the punchline can be garbage, but the content of the joke just makes it go right over the top. At the same time, I've watched Billy do this. We were on a set of Father's Day. We ran out of film at the Starlight Bowl in Los Angeles. It's cold as shit in Anaheim. It's like 2:00 in the morning. And they got to go back to Van Nuys and get film. So we're
Remy,
down for like.
Remy, please forgive me for interrupting. There are just so many people with questions and their hands up. So I just want to make sure that we get to everybody. I'm just going to run through. So if we can we're going to put everybody on mute real quick. Hank, if you could go ahead and just mute everyone and then unmute me. And then we are going to, okay, so let's see. Everyone can still hear me. Okay, so we have a question. Somebody, hold. Can you go unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much. I was waiting for. At first, I would like to say, Sean, thank you very much for joining, and Matthew, thank you very much for your lecture. I have two questions for you. Can you please repeat your 300 feet rule?
Okay. The 300-foot rule is it's kind of like a common sense thing that I never paid attention to, but I wish I had. And it's simply this. Don't talk negatively about anybody within 300 feet of the venue where you are performing. Because in all likelihood, somebody is going to hear. And there are a few things that people, at least in entertainment, but I'm pretty sure in the whole wide world, dislike more than having somebody talk shit about their friend. And there's very few ways to make somebody dislike you permanently than that. So the 300-foot rule I learned, it came from acting, and it was that just 300 feet from the theater is a safe amount of distance before you ever actually express an honest point of view. So if it's just whatever it is, in 300 feet, it's not. It will blow up in your face if you are talking shit and gossiping.
Yeah, don't talk shit at the venue. Wait until you get in the car.
And it's something I wish I had known because it's so much fun to do, but it's always a bad
easy to get
choice.
sucked into it, but it will always come back and bite you in the ass because then the person you were talking shit about ends up being like the producer of the biggest show that you want to get on, or the assistant of
It's always
Martin
that way.
Lawrence, or
It's always.
It's always that way.
It's not about like crowd work. It's about like your personal opinion about what happened. Okay.
No, like literally, like just you think a comic sucked and you go outside to have a cigarette and you're talking to another comic. Don't talk about any other comics.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, so thank you for your question,
I think
Michael.
did you have a second question?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Run the lights. You were talking about like running the lights, and English is my second language, so I didn't get what run the light means.
Oh, I'm sorry. So running the light means to go past the allotted time you've been given. So when you get the light, that generally means you have 1 minute to go. If you've been doing 10-minute set or less, means you have 2 minutes to go. If you've been doing maybe a 20-minute set, you have 3 minutes to go. If you've been doing a much longer one. That is the warning track. Like, you know, in baseball, it's got the warning track before you hit the fence. When you see the light, wrap it up. It means you're almost done. You never want to run the light because when you do that, you're stealing time from everybody else in the show. And it's a disrespectful thing. So...
And I think Sean Kelly had.
Oh, was it Sean had something?
Yeah, to add to that. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, Sean's muted as well.
Hold on, Sean.
So that's what happens when you run the light.
Okay, there you go. You're on mute.
Yeah, to just add to what Matt said, so all those years so in addition to doing those 7 shows a week for 8 years, and then I also used to book shows for the House of Blues and all these other venues. When we would get comedians who were habitually would run the light, that's it. We just stopped booking them. So you might get away with it once or twice, but you get a couple warnings, and then people just realize you're a stage hog, and you just quit getting the bookings. They're just not going to book you anymore. And there were lots of guys who I liked. I really genuinely really liked them, and I liked their comedy, but they weren't respectful to the other comedians. These comedians have waited all week long, or maybe a month for a spot, and they get there, and then they get bumped off the list because you ran and you ate up their time. And guess what? In my room, when I was running that show and I had a hot show, 200 people packed in there every single show, people were dying to get on my shows. if you ran that light and I had to warn you more than once or twice, I just would say, lose my number. Don't call back because you're just being disrespectful to the other comics. So just learn to be nice to your fellow comics.
Yeah. Well said. We have some more.
Oh, sorry.
questions,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
let's
absolutely.
get to
Yes,
it.
I agree completely, Sean. That's it.
Okay, so
hello?
we're gonna just hold on just a second. So I have a bunch of people with their hands up, and so I'm just gonna go in order that I see them. I'm sorry if it's not in order that you raise your hand. We're gonna start. I'm just gonna give heads up. We're gonna do Eleanor, then Noah, then Arlena, and yeah, then we have a couple more. So first, let's go with let's see, Eleanor. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. I got this invitation randomly too, so it's really kind of cool because I was thinking about doing this for a long time, so I'm not sure how that wandered in, but algorithms, I guess.
Manifested that.
I did. Wow. So quick question. I am a trained singer and I was trying to see if I could do something like a cabaret kind of off the top. I like the theater of the absurd. My favorite comedians have been like Kate McKinnon and Matt Uncon and stuff like that. And for me, when I do stuff, like I have great ideas, but they come in like complete thought pictures. So I want to kind of do like a vignette rather than sometimes a set, but should I avoid that? Is that crazy? Is that, anybody?
That's a really
Matt,
good question.
Sean?
I'm gonna raise my hand.
Matt, Sean.
I got an answer for you if you want, or Matt, you can too.
No, Sean, you all, by all means, you first.
I would say this, Eleanor, thanks for that question, because here's the way I would look at comedy and how I'd look at like taking like a comedy class or learning from Matt or whatever, is what you want to do sounds really cool. What you want to do is you want to look at comedy as like a tool in your tool belt. So you go off and you learn what it takes to write and deliver a good, strong line and a funny joke and timing and delivery and all that. And then when you go off with your cabaret show, now you've got the comedy element down, you got the singing element down, and then you figure out how to place it and space it throughout. And now you've got something that's extremely unique. It's your thing. It's like it's your singing, your cabaret, and it incorporates comedy. But the way I would look at it was, I wouldn't look at it as just the big picture, like you were saying. The big picture is the end goal. But the way I would look at it is, I would look at it, this is like, learn this skill set. So you've got this tool in your tool belt, which is comedy. And then you can use this. I used to manage this huge newspaper. I was a sales manager. And once I learned comedy, I used to use comedy on my sales calls when I'd go out to try to sell big sales, big advertising campaigns. I would have the owners of businesses laughing and all that stuff because I had comedy as a tool in my tool belt, and it helped me jack my sales way up. Well, what you're going to find with your music is that it'll set you aside from all these other cabaret singers. People will want to come see you again and again and again, not because they just love your voice and because you're putting on a good show, but you make them laugh and feel good about themselves. So it's a double win. So that's what I was going to put in.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Thank you.
And then Matt, do you want to?
So my questions are, so how long have you been singing?
Well, I just turned 60 this year, and I've been doing it since I was 19.
So you're new.
Yes.
You're new.
So I'm new.
Okay.
And
do you play piano?
I do.
So you would accompany yourself, right?
Actually, I would love to have somebody accompany me. It would be much easier because then I can move around more freely. I could do both if I had to.
Would you be able to have the accompanist come with you, or do you want the venue to provide it?
Either or, depending
Okay,
upon how
so-
good they are and if they can pick up my stuff.
Okay, so I have I'm from the music world. I have 2 degrees in music. That was my life. I play trumpet. I'm a trumpet player. And so the reason I was asking that was this. So comedy clubs do not have like accompanist on hand. They just don't have them. There's no music director. But some of them do have pianos. There are a few people who do piano there. Like TJ Miller, a very famous example of one. So is Craig Robinson. There's 2 guys who do it. Now, you have got, if you want to do songs at stand-up, you must have music with you. Do not, whatever you do under the pain of God, just do not do it with just voice. It will be a train wreck. They won't appreciate it. So
But do you
there
have to have
are
music?
yeah, and you should hopefully if you're playing it's better, but if you have an accompanist it's also good. there are venues that specialize in that in almost every city. It's usually the gay circuits in both New York and LA have that. There's like Don't Tell Mama, there's places like that. That would be until I saw your actor or knew it, that's what I would tell. I would suggest that you find the cabaret scene or the gay circuit in your area, because that's where those acts thrive. Now, I'm sorry, but were you just asking can you do it, or were you asking something specifically different? That's why I'm sorry, I forgot the exact nature.
I'm sorry, it was kind of a complicated question. It was just like, should I? I don't want to get. I was trying to, and I think Sean got it for it. I was always, every time I had this thing, I always had like an idea, but it would go, by the time I get a roll of tape, and by the time I was done, I had town with running water in the post office.
Okay.
And I had all this thing figured out in my head, but I'm not sure if, I think what Sean said was right, valid. I have to get the comedy part down, because I kept tripping over writing stuff and whatever because of that. So.
Absolutely. Then you definitely want to make sure that when something strikes you as funny, you got to remember that you have a very, very limited window, and we never remember it. And do not write it down. You got to write it down later. Record it. Record it the second you think of it. And the key is to record the moment before. You want to make sure you record what directly led to you having those thoughts. Not just the thoughts, but what directly led to it. If you record that while you're finding it funny, you'll be able to connect back to it with perfect sense memory, and you'll be able to recreate it. If you write it down, you'll lose it.
I always say, because I do, act like you're calling your friend. Like, turn on your recording app and then act like you're calling your friend to tell them about something crazy that just happened, and because you'll use the same emotion. It's a good little trick. It's my two cents. Okay, so we have thank you so much, and thank you for sticking around. We're gonna have Noah, then Arlena, Daddy Garcia, Remy. I see you still have your hand up. We will get back to you, and then there are a couple, and then Dustin, we are getting to you. But first, we are going to let's see, Noah, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
All right, thank you. So, like Eleanor, I joined this completely by random, and I've actually really been interested in comedy. I feel like it was always been a thing for me. I'm not necessarily sure if I would do it as a career, but I would say that the main reason I'm joining this class is so I could incorporate it, I guess, into conversation. Like Sean said, like you can use comedy as one of the items in your tool belt. So one of my questions is, I would really because like just talking to my friends or talking to anybody or just like public speaking is something that I have always had a problem with. So my main question is, let's say, and basically I would say, so my main question is my friends, we very based, we just tell a lot of jokes, no matter how offensive, vulgar, rude they are. We feel like comedy should have the least amount of boundaries as possible. But let's say there's something really personal that comes up, or I guess you could apply this to if you're on stage. So somebody asks a really personal question, for example, I guess if something happened with you, your identity, if somebody asks you what happened, like about rolling down in the deep, like what would you actually do? Like, I'm saying this in my specific case because I would use this for my friends, for example, like a personal question, or because I guess I wouldn't consider myself like would be part of Generation Z, so I would like say like what and I would so basically, what do you do if something really personal comes up that's you hold most dear to you? So how would you deal with that?
Well, okay, I got this one. I got this one down. So, because this happens to me a lot. Now, I want to make sure we're clear on this. Now, are you talking about, let's say is it the hypothetical of you're on stage being irreverent about, let's say, I don't know, something like a murder or a rape, like a rape joke, something silly, and then somebody in the audience is like, hey, that happened to somebody I care about, or hey, that's my mom, or whatever, where they had the literal experience that you're, taboo and talking about. Is that what you're talking about? Or were you also
Yes,
or were you also
thank-
mentioning that? Okay, so that's easy. You just tell them to leave and call security and go, get out of here. You're not a funny person. I hope it happens again. That's not, you don't do that. Don't do that. I just want to say it. Okay, so here it is. Right?
I thought you were serious. I was like, what?
Yeah. That's what you do, right? Isn't that right? I don't get it, right? Am I right? Okay, no, this is what you do, okay? So people get offended when they feel that you're being very disrespectful with what they went through, and they want to be heard. They want their truth to come out, and they're going to share it. So the key, well, there's a little prep work in the beginning, but the key is to always be saying it with love, never malice. If you are truly mocking a victim, it's not going to go well. But I bet when you're with your friends and you guys are making very, very black comedy kind of jokes, like very, like inappropriate, it's because there's an undertone, there's a subtext of love. You're not trying to do it to hate each other. One of comedy's functions is to allow you to express taboo thoughts, vent that out there. You have to have that. So if, let's say, you did not mean a hateful statement, but like a woman, I have rape jokes. And so I've run into it many times where a woman has been raped, and there's nothing funny about being raped. Now, that moment, everyone is going to feel uncomfortable. Your job is, if that person's truly bothered, it's to give the validity to it. You just go and acknowledge it. Like, it sounds like you're very bothered by this. And be vulnerable. Vulnerable is what will win the person over. Because you're not trying to shut them down, and you never apologize. By the way, sweet Lord, do not apologize. If you say something that is inappropriate, something that is disrespectful, and you are not the person to say it, and that someone is bothered, don't apologize, because then you admit you're wrong. That is the only thing you can't do. Instead, be vulnerable. You want to go, hey, tell me, and have them tell whatever it is, whatever they need to say, have them say it. Do not let anybody in the audience, like sometimes people will think that they're trying to help you. Like, hey, shut up. Be like, no, hold on, everybody. Let's make sure this person, I want to hear what they have to say. Let them say everything they need to say and give them validity. Acknowledge it. Thank them for sharing it. Like, that's another thing. To thank them for being brave enough to share it. And then say, for me with my rape jokes, I was like, I'm doing this to work through these feelings, these things that bother me. And so never attack, and connect with the person, and then thank them for sharing. They want to be heard, and by letting them express themselves, by letting them be heard, you'll be able to go somewhere with it. But like, just remember that it is always that's a great chance for an authentic moment. So I always, like, when in doubt, be vulnerable and allow the other person to speak. That's the key, and hear them also, acknowledge what they said, and then it'll work itself out. It's never going to be like, they're not going to just keep going after you like, how dare you, you just blah, 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 blah. And just sheer act of letting them be heard and letting them kind of, the catharsis of getting it out. There will be a moment that will organically pop up that will allow you to take it and go somewhere with it. Also, but here's here's the comic second part. You better have a good punchline. That's like, well, I tell a lot of religious jokes, and my buddy Ray DeVito is this touring headliner. He's great, and his rule for religious jokes is you better have a great punchline because you are offending a lot of people otherwise. So if you want to talk about something that's very taboo, you better have a bomb punchline behind it. But if it falls flat, you have got to just become very vulnerable and very open to hearing, and then that's all it takes.
Oh yeah, that's. I feel like you answered my question perfectly. I mean, in Jungian psychology, that's exactly what the point of the mask is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we openly despise the things we secretly desire.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for your question. So we are going to Remy. Do we have Remy here? Going once, going twice.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, I guess that's going once, going twice for
you keep trying to pull a light on me.
Not your
Keep
fault.
trying to wave the light on me, Andrea. Keep it up.
What's up? I was talking.
Keep trying to shine a light on me, Andrea. Keep trying to flash the light. But it's okay. In any event, my question kind of got answered as we went through. a little earlier. And what I had started to go into in regards to a film set was more so along the improv side of things. And I don't know if that's something that, we're doing here. But by me not knowing where this came from, I have no idea if we're all in the same state or if we're around the country. This guy's talking about UK. I was sort of under the impression that this was something that was local to where I am. But I'm sort of kind of finding out through just this meeting that I'm assuming we're probably all over the country, maybe even all over the map here. Am I right?
Yeah, where are you from?
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm in Maryland.
You're in Maryland. Okay. Yeah.
Maryland, Maryland. Prince George's County, by any chance?
No. I'm where they kill people at. I'm in
County
Baltimore.
in the building.
Nice.
I'm in Baltimore where they wear black Air Force Ones and say that killers only wear those.
I'm doing Arlington. I'm going to be in Arlington. I know that's not exactly where you guys are.
I'd love to be in Arlington. Arlington's quite safe.
VA in the building.
But at the end of the day, I mean, like I said, I thought we were all local, and I have a workout. Jersey. Well, look, Jersey, you're more than welcome to come down here. We got a workout room for you. And that was sort of kind of my
Virginia in the building.
I'm coming.
2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, we're
you're
at
saying-
Sully's. We're at Sully's Comedy Cellar.
Okay.
On Hartford Road here in Baltimore.
I'll be there. I'm in Boston. I'm right
Comedy
where the
Saturday.
Comedy America is happening. Trust me. I'm in Boston. I can't wait.
Come holler at us anytime. I mean, we got a nice setup. A group that we are actually trying to start touring and doing things of that nature with.
I would love it. I would love to be a part of that. I swear.
We not only do improvisational stand-up, but we'll actually do like wilding out skits with the group of comedians that are there and interact with the audience, things of that nature.
Matt wants to tell you something.
Does this? I need to know. Does this class go on beyond this night, or will we be able to network? I don't know anything about this. I'm totally blown right now. Believe me.
So,
other than the fact that Andreas,
How do I reach you?
Do you guys want me to tell like what you told me why you wanted me here today?
Go ahead, Sean.
Guys, I took Matt's class. It's spectacular. I've been doing comedy for a long time, and then I needed to be able to build a new act, and I took Matt's class and I made some connections in my mind that I hadn't even made over the years of doing comedy, and it helped speed up me building a new act. Here's the thing. Matt offers a 4-week class. I think you do it every Tuesday, right? Your next one starts August. Is it August 5th? August 5th. He does it every Tuesday, and it's a 4-week class. But you don't have to buy all 4. He told me before all this. Charge $99 for one class, or you can have all 4 classes for $300. And in between the classes, he sets up these Zoom shows and lets his students come on and perform what they learned in the class, so they've got a place to kind of test out the material. So it's a 4-week course where you go through everything, and the idea I think tonight was to kind of get everybody exposed to the idea that, one, Matt knows what he's talking about and he's good at it, and 2, if you're thinking about doing this and you don't have a network of people around you to help you, and you don't have a place to work out, you don't really know where to start, whatever, it's always good to have a foundation. And even like myself, when I did it, I'd already been doing comedy for a long time, but I didn't know how to go back in and to develop stuff quickly. And Matt's got these great techniques for writing, developing all these things to build the material faster. And that's, in my particular case, I didn't have the luxury of taking 2 or 3 or 4 years to build a 1-hour act. I had a promoter in the UK that wanted to take me out on tour, and I had to build it. So when you learn what Matt has to teach you, basically the big part of me being here today was just to be like a testimonial, like, yeah, taking the class, the guy knows what he's talking about. It really works. He's got a great thing that he does for you. He teaches you the class, and then in between the classes, he lets you come on and do some workout, and so you could test it and see if you get laughs, and it's cool. And I think
I need a scholarship.
Andre, don't you send out a link or something to people?
Yeah.
Hey, Sean.
We'll be sending all that. And hold on just a second, Papa. Do right. You keep trying to cut in on people's conversations. Okay, so we still have we have a lot more questions, guys. So I want to make sure that we get to them all. So,
but yes, we'll send an email out after all of this is done. But by the way, since we're mentioning it, I spend a lot of time. The class that I do is a little bit more intense than this in terms of each little section has a task. Like, for instance, one is to the theory and the structure. How to there's essentially two possible ways to write jokes. How to work it. One's problem solving, one's inspiration. But that's, to me, is not enough. Just knowing that part. The thing I found that really helped people is having that routine. Like, how do you actually work daily? What is the right amount to work daily? And I came up with a way to start with like 3 jokes a day and work your way up to writing 40, 50 jokes within 1 month. And it's just, it's the process I've been doing, I've honed over a lot of time. So like every single part of those classes, they all have specific goals. And then the other thing is I show people, the last part of it is to show how to produce. And that's probably of all the things I've done in my career, I've produced thousands of shows. And I'm good at that part. Probably,
Yeah.
and there's no one else doing that.
I know Andre can attest to this, but I know like, when over the years when I've come to LA and, been able to hit you up and say, Matt, can I get some stage time on to be in LA or whatever? And you always have these great shows that you're producing. And what's cool about that is what everybody here is going to learn today is that if you're saying, hey, I really do want to become a comic, I really do want to be successful, or at least want to give it a good shot, you have to have stage time. And a lot of people guard their stage time. They don't just give it out because they want it for themselves or their close friends. So a lot of times you got to start your own thing and know how to do it and not bring back the same people all the time because they're only going to want to hear your jokes a few times and you need fresh faces. And Matt teaches you how to do all that. And it's valuable. It's really valuable.
Yeah, because no one wanted to help me. When I was new, no one wanted to help me. And I remember thinking, this is not going to be played, but I remember thinking, fuck you people. And then I went and I got a cafe show. I went from a cafe show to a bar show. From bar show, I started doing club shows in Queens. From club shows, I had my own cabaret theater. Then I just kept building and building and building. And every single thing I did not come easily to me. But I learned how to do it, and I was really methodical about it. And the one best thing about learning step by step how to do each one of these things is it's super easy to show it to other people. Like I found the people I like the most are the people who had to struggle in the beginning, who had to build their own technique up. Because those people, they can tell you how to do something. Like that's the thing I take pride in is that I make sure everyone gets that value. All right, enough of the selling. I feel so awkward doing it.
I do want to add one last thing in though. On the value of what you teach them about how to get their own room, what to say to people in order to get it, how to promote it and all that stuff, which is hugely valuable. But the other thing too is over the years of running the rooms myself, like I used to run PB Bar and Grill down in PB in San Diego. I ran Moondoggies. And what was cool was we had the people that you meet. Like Sebastian is one of the biggest comedians in the world right now, making $40-50 million a year. He used to come down and do my room. I used to pay him $100-150 a spot, and we would hang out together. Ralphie May used to come down and do spots. Like all these guys who went on to just blow up, and those are guys like we were hanging with back in the day before they were famous, which is cool. And you could create that kind of space for yourself.
Yeah.
Excuse me, no mean to cut y'all off. But I have to go to work at 11:30. Hello?
Okay. Do you have a question?
Yes,
I do.
First,
we do have a line of people that I've been telling them the order.
He has to go to work though. Can y'all forgive me?
Yeah.
All right, if you guys got to go to work, let's. Sorry about that.
Take your ass to work, man.
I gotta go have sex.
I got to punch in that clock, man.
Go ahead, Cedric. Go ahead, Cedric.
I'm at work right now.
I gotta go have sex if I get divorced.
Well,
Bye.
So ask the question.
Yeah, I'm at work too in Baltimore. My Wayne Brady shit.
All right, first, hello?
Yes.
Yes, first I wanted to know how did y'all actually like pick the numbers, to send a message to?
I asked the devil, and he gave me your name.
No, you know, hey, listen, real
You
quick.
can't, you can't just, in a
listen,
free class,
He
you can't
did.
just give away secrets.
I know.
listen.
He also gave you your address too.
Hey, listen, let me ask
Oh wow,
you.
yeah. That's what's up, man. Hey, that's
What
what's
do you
up.
have to give him to get the
No,
number?
Hey, y'all gotta unmute me. Y'all gotta hear this shit. Hello,
You're
can y'all hear me?
unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, that shit not funny. To be honest with you, now, like, I really want to know the answer to his question.
Yeah,
Yeah, listen. Hey, listen.
Yesterday,
Here's the thing.
Well,
Here's the thing, right?
no, wait.
You guys,
This is crazy. This is crazy. Just let me finish. Let me get it out.
Go
One
ahead,
second.
go ahead, John. Go ahead.
This happened. All right, listen. I'm sorry. I don't mean to yell, but listen. This shit is really crazy. I really want to know the answer to this question. Yesterday, I was sitting in my bed and I was literally thinking about something crazy that I thought that could be a joke. But I was like, damn, I could probably be a comedian if I knew what the hell it was I was doing. You know what? 30 seconds after that, your fucking text message popped up in my phone. How did you pick those numbers, my man?
The devil.
Stop, Matt.
Sorry about that. Wouldn't that be crazy though if it were? All right, fine.
Look,
Which devil?
Listen. I can answer this for you guys because here's the thing, right? Listen,
the devil.
If you take Matt's class, Matt's gonna teach you guys how to promote. He's gonna teach you how to bring in the right audience, people that want what you've got. See, the thing is with comedy, you're gonna go out someday and you're gonna find your audience, people who like your jokes, your style. Those are gonna become your fans. This is an art. This has taken Matt 22 years to learn. I've been in the game for about 20 years. It takes a long time to learn all this stuff. And so the thing is, in today's class, the whole idea was for Matt to come in and teach you guys and give you all this free content and so much value. And if Matt never hears from you guys ever again, at least he put some good stuff out in the world. But if you sign up for his class, he's going to teach you a lot of magical stuff that's going to help you move along faster. And promoting all that stuff is part of it. We can't just in like a free class just tell everybody your secrets. You gotta, I think there's been a lot.
How do we sign up?
Value.
How do we sign up?
Okay.
How
I hear,
do
they
we
want to know.
sign up?
I hear you. So
I think that's like right now is probably a good place to wrap it up, unless there's a few more questions.
Well, there are more questions that I want to get to. So if we could just everybody hold on a second. So, I believe that was that Kathy who was just asking. You can go ahead and shake your head. Okay, yes, I see you. Okay, we will be giving you instructions on how to sign up and get more information as soon as we are done. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more questions. Let's say if there are any other questions, put them in the chat. And we'll make sure that Matt reaches out to you. And John, I know, John, that you have a question about how we got the number.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Oh,
I just want to say,
let's answer that question
nobody
first.
Nobody was stealing any information for anything or anything.
No one's reading your mind
like that. No one was reading your mind. I promise that.
Are you sure?
It is. I'm not sure. It would. I think so if he told me he could read minds, it would not surprise me, and it would explain a lot.
Hello?
But as far as I know,
about an algorithm. What algorithm? I was literally just thinking about that, and that shit popped up in my text message. Not like I was on the internet. It popped up in my text message. How you know me?
That's a beautiful. Hey Matt, I can say this real quick. That's a beautiful thing about stand-up comedy, which is this: like we think we're so unique and so original with all of our thoughts and all this stuff. But that's why when you're standing on stage and you're talking about something that you find funny that's happened to you in your life, that's why a room full of people will just start laughing because they had the same experience or they've seen the same thing or whatever. And it's that shared common thing. So believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that want to get in the game of comedy. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to start. And the thing is like you can go on and you could start Googling and get lost in the world. But the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of people, millions and millions of people who have thought about it, who are thinking about it right now as we're talking around the world, and they don't know how to take action. You just got lucky, and here you are, being offered a chance to maybe take something that could help you fulfill you. I would say it was meant to happen. If you're here, it was meant to happen.
That really is. It really is. I mean, that's. I really
but hey,
feel
let's get
that.
to these 8 questions because I gotta go, guys. So let's
we'll
let's
tweak
make
it.
sure
Thank you
I'll
for
stay here
answering.
till the bitter end. I know people have to work. By the way, the answer to how we find out the class is at the second we're finished done with the questions, we're going to send everyone an email with all the information. But I just didn't want to. I don't want to cut off people's questions. That's all. I want to make sure to answer whatever I can answer.
Okay.
I won't say the devil anymore.
Let's
I
go
promise.
ahead and move on. You can say whatever you want. It's your workshop, babe.
Oh, that's okay. Good point. All right.
Thank
The devil.
you. Thank
Can
you.
I, can I just, Andrea, did you say you were going to address the questions that you asked at the beginning were put into the chat? You'll address them later? That's fine.
Well, yeah.
Well, we were
Okay.
gonna. I'm looking to see. I don't. See,
I will
if you
answer
wa-
everyone's questions.
Thank you.
If you want to go ahead, Kathy, and type that into the chat again, because I'm not seeing it right now. So if you want to go ahead and put that question in, I'll make sure Matt gets to it. So right now we just have Garcia, Timothy, Michelle, and Dustin is going to be the order of our next questions. So everybody, thank you for your patience. Let's go ahead and bring up, I'm not calling him Daddy Garcia, but Daddy Garcia, if you want to go ahead and ask your question, go ahead. The floor
I
is
mean,
yours.
that's my name. You know, you gotta put the respect on it.
Respect
But
on the
first
name.
off, good afternoon. Well, good evening. I mean, so I have more like a two-part question. My first part of it would be like, how do you like transition between like one joke to the other joke? You know, like you got one joke that's like all the way on one topic, and then you move it to like talking about your granddad on the deathbed. Like, how do you?
You don't.
How do you move smoothly? You know.
Do not. Whatever you do, sequiturs, non sequiturs are your friends. Transitions are your enemies. We laugh. People laugh because of out of nowhere you just change abruptly. Have you ever then been talking about one thing, then out of nowhere you just abruptly change, talk about another topic, and it's funny. Just the fact that you went from topic A without any transition to topic B. That is the bright way to go. It's like you don't want transitions. Now you might say, well, hold on a second. I love storytelling comics, and they always have transitions. And I will tell you, no, they don't. You just thought they did. Make the tone of your voice the transition. If the energy, if you're talking about milk and then you're talking about going on vacation and it's the same energy, in retrospect, people will then think that you had this smooth transition. But topically and sentence-wise, you want it to be as abrupt and surprising a pop as possible. You want the tone of voice to be what carries it over. And then when they reflect on it, they'll feel that there was. So the answer is transitions are not your friend. You don't want them.
I'll add something in there too, which is that what Matt's talking about there is, see, a lot of comics use segues, right? And they'll find a natural place to kind of seg, and it'll be like a smooth transition to the next bit. That's what you were asking about. But the point that Matt's making here is that abruptness, there's one more, you have one more opportunity there when done correctly to get another laugh. You can just, boom, you just by doing that transition, you're able to get a laugh because of that abruptness. And so we're, instead of like just focusing on like, hey, how do I do all these smooth segues? Like, a lot of times people like, they do the bit and then they're like, oh, well, speaking of that, and then they segue into something else. Or they'll ask an audience member a question to something that they ask that every single time. But the reason why they ask that is because that's a segue into the next thing. But what Matt's saying there is like, that's one way of doing it, having smooth transitions. But what it all comes down to at the end of the day is as many laughs as you can get in your set. So with his what he's trying to teach you there is, yes, you can go old school and do segues because there's storytellers out there and they do great smooth transitions and segues. But what Matt's saying is that whenever possible, if you can do that abruptness, boom, you can get that magical laugh right there because it like jolts the audience. Just one
think
more.
about like. Okay, sure. But I want to give that one other example of what I mean. Like, watch Dave Chappelle. It sounds like he has smooth transitions, but if you just listen to the words, they are just these little nuggets that really don't relate. But what transitions them is just the tone of his voice. So the person telling it will be the transition. I would always say that anytime you try to smooth it with the words, you're cutting away an opportunity where you could get a laugh. And in retrospect, they'll still think you did the conversational transition. Okay, sorry, next one.
Okay, so let's go ahead. I'll let you get your second half of your question. Daddy Garcia, and then everybody else, we're just gonna have to do one question and get through, because I want to get
All
to
right,
people. And then I am going through the chat, you guys, and Matt and I'll bring up some of these questions and we'll have a little discussion about them.
Yeah, absolutely,
Kind of get through them,
All right,
and
so,
then get you the information. So go ahead with your second part of your question.
Go ahead, Daddy.
all right, so the second part of my question is like really easy, really smooth. It's like, how do you read your audience? Like, you don't go into a joke, you don't go into a stage and tell like 9/11 jokes to 9/11 survivors, like war jokes to like war veterans. Like, what's the best way to like read your audience? Know what jokes to tell, what jokes not to tell.
Okay, so I believe that the only audience member that matters is you. So you never want to tell jokes for other people. You want to be funny, but tell the joke that you want to tell. And that's the choice. Because if you find it funny, they'll find it funny if you come across authentic. So truthfully, you should never adapt for a room. Hold on. I know there's exceptions to it. I tell you, it's like, if you have let's say all your jokes are about fuck the police, and then they hire you to do, I don't know, a police charity event, then obviously you have to adapt. I look at the rooms like this. This is how I look at rooms when I pay attention. I go, my first question is this a joke crowd or a crowd work crowd? That's my first question, meaning do they want me to tell them jokes or do they want me to just talk to them? That's first. Second thing I ask myself is this going to be a clean set or a dirty set? I judge that by going, what time of day is it? Is it early? Probably going to keep it clean. Who was the comic before me? Who's the comic after me? And then I look at the energy of the room. And that tells me how to perform it. And I use a rule that I think everyone else does of if the crowd's quiet, I do a little bit above them and I can bring them up. If the crowd's crazy, I'll go, I'll try to match them and then go back down to where I want to be. If the crowd's too hot, I will slow it down on purpose by having them clap themselves tired. But I look at rooms as in jokes or crowd work, clean or dirty, and then energy level. I try to match a little bit. If the crowd, if it's a specialized crowd, let's say I'm straight, so if I'm doing a gay show, I will write the jokes that I'll take my jokes material that I feel is appropriate. But at the end of the day, all my jokes, the only person I run the jokes by really is myself. But other than that, older people like setup, punch, jokey joke, classical jokes. Younger people like stories. There are things that skew by race a little bit. Like, for instance, white people tend to like goofy theoretical jokes a little bit more than anyone else does. Things like that. And if I could do impressions, I would do impressions, but everyone likes them. But that's how I always look at it. And then I'll ask the producer, or if I'm booked to do a show, I'll ask if there's anything specific they don't want me to tell. That's always something you want to ask. Like if it's the first time doing a room, whoever booked you, go, is there anything I shouldn't do? Because you don't want to like find out that this is something else. Okay.
It's also the producer's job to let you know what type of show they're putting together and what they expect of you. No one should ever set you up to fail. Like if someone knows that you do nothing but 9/11 jokes, then they
won't book you
probably
for
wouldn't book you for a 9/11 remembrance memorial. Like it's, or they will, and they'll know that your style will work for that room. That's the booker's.
The one thing I was going to jump in and just say, the one thing that you might adjust are just your references. Like, so for example, I did comedy in the UK, the US, and Australia. And so certain jokes, they just didn't work. I had to like change the references. And so sometimes if you're, even in the US, if you're on the East Coast, sometimes you got to change your references when you're on the West Coast. So you do have to adapt like your references, but if you're funny, you're funny, you're funny. If you get on that stage and you can win them over and they're on your side right away, you can take them down all kinds of pathways as long as it's truly funny and you're getting those laughs. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, absolutely. Your references. For instance, when I went from New York to LA, I had a jokes about Italians. We came to LA, no Italians. But then I found out about Armenians, and I was like, yes! And it was the same material worked. So it's like you have to adapt. You have to find out what it is. But then you should know any kind of reference. You have to know if it's evergreen or if it's going to be local. That's it. Actually, sorry. I keep talking too long. Right.
You're good. Okay, so let's move on to our next, Timothy Jones. If you want to go ahead and ask your question, go ahead.
Okay. My question is, can you elaborate a little bit more about producing?
Yes.
So Well, more detailed information is going to be also included in future classes. So
yeah, like here's I'll do a little bit of a. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk to you. Okay, so
basically go over
producing.
what you said
I'm
before I
used
missed
to
it a
it.
little.
Women in comedy.
Okay, so producing is it's a whole bunch of specifics. Like there are a specific way that you talk to a venue. There's a specific way to find a venue. There are specific deals that you need to negotiate with the venue. There are everything in the production world is a bunch of things that you have to know. And so I did a lot. I still do a lot of producing, and I show how to do things like fundraisers, how to do new talent shows, how to produce mics if you want to produce mics, how to produce online, how to do free shows, how to get paid for free shows, and how to do college and corporate. Corporate, not so much, but college, I used to do a little bit of that. And everything with the production side, I won't explain you how to do anything. I'll show you how to do it for free, and it makes money because that's how I had to start. No budget and make money. Producing is good. Producing is a good way to get on stage when you can't get on stage otherwise. You can also then book other people who have their own shows, and it's a way of taking one show and making it 5 shows. It's a way of taking control of things if nothing's happening for you. If you're not like, if people are doing things for you and you're moving and grooving, great, do that. But if you're stagnating, you're like, man, I'm not doing anything and I feel like I want to take control. Producing allows you to control your career in a way that you can't otherwise because you're not waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah,
you're making it ring.
Producing gives you the stage time that if you're having trouble getting it from anyone else, you can use it as a networking tool. You can use it as you can trade spots with other producers. Most everyone who is running a show is a comic and looking for stage time.
It's the fastest way to network. It is. It's providing value, unless your show sucks, in which case
I'll add one thing in there because of my producing experience, which is this. Okay, where everyone watching tonight may not have, you may never heard of me, never heard of Matt. But what's interesting is we both have been making a living in this business, doing this stuff, and producing's been a big part of that. So like down in San Diego, where I had the Comedy Palace, I was producing my 7 shows a week. I was making a really good living doing comedy, and the only people that knew me at that point in my life over that whole period as a comedian were people inside San Diego. This was before YouTube had really taken off and all that. So because of my producing skills, I was able to do what I love, which is perform stand-up comedy and make a living doing it. And what's so cool is that Matt and I, one of the reasons why we're such great friends is because he's probably one of the best promoters that I've ever met in my lifetime. And I've met a bunch. And this guy knows the game better than anyone. So a huge part of this class isn't just about learning like, oh, hey, how do I write this joke? How am I funny? Have my timing, blah, blah, blah. The big chunk of this value is the promoting side of it, the production and knowing how to do it and then how to make money from it. And you can get into comedy and you can make money for years before anyone ever knows who you are because you're a great producer.
Yeah, I never had to pay. I never had to have a day job after I started. That was year 1 in comedy, and I never had a day job again. Now it wasn't like the world's easiest thing. I had to hustle like a motherfucker, but like I could do it. It was the door never closed. That's the best thing about producing to me is that the door is always open. You can always do it.
Yeah, and you can do a show just about anywhere.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
All right, so let's move on to our next question. Michelle, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, or I can unmute you. There you go. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi, Michelle.
I'm here in South Florida. Hi guys, thanks for all the information. I've done several open mics and retired a few years ago from comedy because I bombed so much.
I did the same thing.
That's how you get better.
Yeah, I reversed because when I first hit the stage, I did really, really great for my first few shows. And then I started bombing and all the other comedians said, you're supposed to do it the other way around. You're supposed to bomb.
That happened. I've known comics like that. That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm here in South Florida and I appreciate the presentation. I've been in and out. I was waiting for the sales pitch. I got it. I see the value in it. I appreciate it. I just had one question in regards to like the whole the 4-week course. Is there a continuing like Facebook group or a platform where after the 4 weeks we can like network with each other? I have a room. I have access to excuse me, I'm choking on my own. Words. I have access to 2 rooms here in South Florida, like for if any of the other comedians wanted to come down and try out their material, and we can like grow together, right? So like the question, the real question is,
100%.
is there like is there a Facebook group or a platform like once we finish the program where we can, you know, continue to grow and offer each other opportunities as they come along and bring each other up like most other big, you know, groups of people like Brad Pitt and, you know, George Clooney and whatnot, how they brought
Brad
each
Pitt
other
and
up.
George Clooney are not allowed at our shows. We've already made that clear. That way we can never be turned down by them. No, okay, so straight up, we don't have that, but it's an amazing idea. We believe in cultivating.
I'll just hook you up with those people in Florida if you want. That's where I'm from.
Hey, but I'll
it
jump
would
in and
also
say this.
I'm
Matt,
from South Florida too.
it's like a private Facebook group is an easy thing to set up.
Right.
And it's a great place to network. I belong to a few of them for other things because I produce TV shows. And it's a super simple thing to set up. And I think the short answer probably should be, do it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is we don't.
And thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure.
Cultivate community.
I like Florida. What part of South Florida?
I'm in Hollywood, Florida, and so like Miami's right around the corner. Fort Lauderdale is right around. What part are you from, Matt?
I grew up in Orlando, but I've done comedy all over it. Yeah. So yeah, there's the whole group too. Like Esther Kuz down there, Ronnie Colette.
Right here. I'm in Port St. Lucie. I'm right down the road.
Oh yeah, yeah. You gotta come down. I gotta come up. We'll check each other
I forbid
out.
it. I forbid you from ever talking.
We will
Miami
definitely
representing.
We will definitely
Yeah,
start that. Awesome.
That's a
Thank you so
great
much,
idea.
Michelle. Thank
I'm,
you for your question.
I'm Michelle.realestate on Instagram. So
Michelle.realestate.
yeah, so I'll be honing my skills for the next 2 years, but I'm not hitting the stage for about the 2 years.
Why? That's not the right choice to make. That is the wrong choice.
We won't create a community unless you get back into comedy.
Well, I respect that. I bombed so badly. My first set, I bombed so badly, I quit for 3 years. I was like, I guess this is not for me. I quit. And I never thought I would do it again. And then I started catching myself wanting to do it and then doing it. It's never just go on stage. You will. You eventually will. That's what comedy does. You'll try not to. You will. But don't wait.
Well, I'm very, very interested in writing comedy shows, like comedy TV shows, or writing comedy for TV is what the like, you know, the lodestar is. So of course I'm gonna hit the stage because I have a passion for it, and it's weird because I don't get nervous on stage. I actually feel very at peace when I'm on the stage. I'm definitely gonna do that, but I'm just a real basketball mom right now. So for like, I actually sneak off to do open mics. Like I don't tell anyone where I'm going. It's my double life. Nobody knows in my family
comedy
that
is
I
the mistress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the Mr.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, but I'm definitely gonna take the course and, you know, continue. Thank you so much because you've added so much. Everyone actually that did speak added so much. I was taking down notes and it's just great. In regards to not having transition, but weaving the jokes together, if you were storytelling, do you have any tips on that?
Jokes out by emotion. That to me is always how the best to do it. It's always like if you plot it out by how you feel, the story will take care of itself. Because that's to me is everything is emotion. It's all emotion. Gonna remember. It's like if you can have the most disjointed set of jokes. If you have an emotional arc to it that people in retrospect look upon, they'll get that same feeling from it. So like my only advice in terms of not knowing anything about what you're doing is always plot it out through emotion. You know, if you have that arc, you'll everything take care of itself. That's always that's the key.
Awesome, guys. If you guys have an extra 300 laying around, just invest in yourself. I think that's the best investment is investing in the things that you love. So I heard a lot of like, I was laying in my bed meditating, I was praying to God, I was lighting candles, and all of a sudden I got this text. Well, there it is. It's only $300, and we spend more than $300 on all kinds of bullshit throughout the year.
The price has just gone up, unfortunately. We're now going to be doing it for $900.
No, but Michelle, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes, Michelle.
All right, let's go on to our next. Dustin. Go ahead
Hello.
and ask your question. Hi, Dustin. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, no problem. And by the way, I love everything that's happened so far. And I'm also from Florida, West Palm Beach.
Nice.
So,
No one's
question
from
is,
Orlando.
yo, how do you balance working on being successful and family life?
Well, next question. No, okay. Okay, so you have to. I mean, there's a lot of comedians who have families. There's a lot of comedians who don't. It is, you just need to know what you need to do. For instance, for you, I'll get more specific. Do you work during the day or do you work at night?
Mainly during the day.
Okay, so at night, are you raising kids or are you not raising kids?
Raising kids.
How old are the kids?
6, 10, and I got a newborn in a week.
All right, so wow, congratulations. So you can't hang out. You can't hang out like because you got kids at home. So you have to be a little bit more methodical with what you do. So you still need to get in. And here's the thing, truthfully, like when I first came to LA, I was 30, don't judge, but I thought I was too old to make it. And so what I did was I go, how do I get in as fast as fucking possible? I didn't have any time. And so what I did was I bracketed it out 8 to 10 and 10 to midnight. That's out for you. But in the 8 to 10, I gave myself one task. And I said I was going to go to either a show or a mic for 10 minutes. I was going to meet one comic. I was going to find one joke that I like, congratulate them on the joke. I was going to tell them, knock it off. You're making it too hard for the rest of us. I was going to get their name. I was going to leave. I did that. Why? Because then I didn't have to hang out. But I got in LA because I met one person and then I left. So to balance it, you have to eventually find out the things that take up all your time and not do them or find ways to do them otherwise. And most of the fat of the time is from networking. And just you can do that if you want to be methodical about it. You can do it online or you can do it otherwise. Then you need to figure out a way to get on stage in ways that work with your schedule. And so you can either do daytime shows, which will be a little bit different, but you can do them. Online shows, again, that's something that works. Or you have to find when you have an hour that's available, and then you have to got to make it work. You can make it work. You have to. Someone's got to walk you through it and kind of like work with your schedule to figure that out.
And
Sean.
Oh yeah. So I was going to tell you this. From running that room in San Diego for all those years, for 8 years, I dealt with a lot of guys that had families, and I saw guys do it the right way, and I saw guys do it the wrong way. I have one friend. His name's Scott. He wound up, he loved comedy. He was coming out doing 7 shows a week a night with us, and blah, blah. He was neglecting his family, and it led to bad. His wife left them, the whole thing. It was really bad. And it boiled down to that he was neglecting his family. And then I had other guys who really wanted to do this. So what they learned was Saturdays and Sundays during the day, they would do stuff with the kids, the family. They would let their wife go off and do things during the day. I'll watch the kids. You go off, do your thing, go out with your girlfriends, do your whatever. But I want to have this one night after the kids go to bed. I want to be able to go do this one night a week or 2 nights a week. But you really have to kind of like, I like that you're asking this question because the end result could be really bad or it could be really amazing. I have personal friends that have gone on to make it big, really big, and they're married and they've got kids and they made it and they're as big, and I'm so happy for them. But I got other friends who wound up in divorce because they didn't take the time to stop and ask the question that you just asked. So I'm glad you're thinking about it. But just talk to your wife, come up with a plan, and say, look, here's your freedom, here's my freedom, and balance it out. And if you start to see that it's not, you think it's working, but it's not working, have that open communication, because at the end of the day, your kids are way more important than any of these people you're going to be telling jokes to. It might feel good to do comedy in the moment, but your kids are the most important thing in the world. But this is something you want, and your happiness, you can figure out how to make it work. I know you can, but thanks for asking.
I have the answer. The way you build up is you go to late night mics. You sneak out to late night mics, and then you carve out like one day a month to do a show.
That's a great idea. Then also he gets the pattern of going out late at night. So then, you know, oh, sorry, it's the wrong thing to say.
And if you can get a babysitter and bring your wife or girlfriend or partner to the mic with you, so to eliminate.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I saw. We all see in
people
our.
don't lie to their spouse
I know.
or partners.
I'll tell
It's
you,
like, yeah, just go out late at night and they get the music.
my wife has come to thousands of shows, and she was a trooper. But at the end of the day, she knew every comic's act frontwards and backwards. And even though she used to manage, she used to work for Joan Rivers. She was Joan's personal assistant for many years. So she'd been around the comedy game for a long time. But I got to tell you, it's super hard on your spouse. Even if you achieve success, it's hard on your spouse if they're not a comic. Like what's great about Matt and Andre is that they're both comics, so they know that thing in your heart that you're feeling that you want to go do, and that might make it a little easier. But when your spouse doesn't have that same drive, it's good to put some forethought into it. So I'm glad you asked that question.
All right,
Okay.
cool. Thanks for your guys' input.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you so much. But I think the secret to Matt and I's relationship is the willingness to just openly have to say each other. Look at that look.
What?
I
I didn't know we were dating. What? Are you talking about?
Andre, your mic cut out, or you're muted. You're muted.
You're muted.
Well,
Wouldn't that be great if life were like online? You could just mute someone like "Bap," and you'd be like, "Sorry, you're muted."
You started to come back though. I could hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, cool.
All
So let's see. We have John Hope Rel and one other person who I don't know why your name is blank, but those are going to be, those are the last questions for the night because you guys have been on this call with us for over 2 hours. And so let's.
I've had a ball.
I have too. Let's go on to John. John, welcome, and please go ahead and ask your question.
All right, appreciate it. So y'all been answering my questions all night, so I really do appreciate the information. So I did write down one question. You answered it earlier from my man that was having the offensive materials there, right? Like you said that you had to be vulnerable, you had to listen to him, so you had to give him a chance, right? Especially the gain control. So with that being said, it's like a two-part question. So this is the first part of it. How much control do you give to being vulnerable before you gain control back to get back on track? Like, and then I guess the other part of that is what percentage of crowd participation should you allow in your set so that way you don't, so basically you minimize any mistakes or any, shortcomings, any, slip ups or anything like that. So you have a tight set. So that's two-part question, right? So the first one is being vulnerable, like to offensive material. All right, you have to be vulnerable and give them a chance to, speak up and share what they're feeling, all right? But how much of that do you give to them before you okay, you hone it back in, like, all right, let's get back on track here. And then the second part to that question is what percentage of crowd control or participation in your crowd control should you allow in your set?
So I was thinking of this Sean Connery video that I think would be perfect, but you'll have to find that on your own. Okay, so here is my answer. I want to be real specific. I was speaking to when someone's authentically bothered. So if somebody is hurt, and it's very obvious, you can tell, that's when you want to give them as much latitude as possible, and you want to hear them out. Now, if someone's just annoyed with you, that's different. That I don't put up with. I handle that with a hammer. Okay, so but that's personal. Now, Sean, I want Sean. I think I know Sean's point of view on this, which is Sean. Am I wrong, Sean? When saying that you're not big on them doing a lot of crowd work. You think they shouldn't, or am I totally wrong on that one?
Oh no. I love crowd work. I personally love crowd work, but I think it's a crutch. Like I did crowd work for years, and I didn't grow as a comedian. And I think had I not been doing so much crowd work, when I got the opportunity to do that big tour in the UK, I might have had a bunch of back material I could have pulled forward and done. But that's why I like taking your class and learning your techniques was so helpful on how to develop material quickly. Because I feel like crowd work is so much fun because it feels like it's in the moment and it's magic and there's this illusion going on. And even you surprise yourself with some of the stuff you say. You get these magical moments and you're just like, this is awesome. But really, at the end of the day, you don't have anything to take away and use in your next act, other than to do the same kind of crowd work, and you try to recapture those moments again and again. I love crowd work. It's fun. It should only be one tool in your comedy tool belt. Like you should be comfortable with it. You should know how to deal with a heckler. I used to love hecklers because I could just destroy the hell out of a heckler and just like, and have the whole room just dying laughing at them. But that becomes so addicted that you want to do that all the time. And the truth of the matter is, if you want to grow as a comedian, someday you want to sell tickets, you want to be on TV, you want to do all these things you want to do, you just can't get stopped at the pit stop of crowd work. It could just be, get that tool, learn how to do it, get good at it, put it in your tool belt. Now you know how to do it, move on, keep writing material.
A good way to track if you want to work it down to like the percentage of how much crowd work should you do versus how much material is you put your set together and make sure you have everything laid out that you want to say, and then you know how much time you have, and then you might not have it down perfect the first time you perform. You might do too much, or you wish you had done more crowd work, but you will have in your head this like checklist of the jokes you want to do, and over time you will learn how much time it takes to, because you'll start to get the same responses to different jokes that invoke the same type of heckle, and so you'll then have responses to them and it'll go a lot quicker. So a lot of that is just a little planning before you start.
Here, I want to give him an answer though, that because I could feel like
sure, go ahead.
Okay, so here is what I have done, and I think one, if you're going to do crowd work, the safer way of doing it, instead of asking a question, statement. That is how you can do crowd work without ceding power. Instead of going, hey, what do you do for a living? Which is really going, hey, I'm looking for inspiration. Tell me something that inspires me. Just tell them what they look like. Hey, you look like you do, but blah, 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 blah. It lets you hold control of it, and it stops them from being funnier than you. Secondly, though, let's say you decide you want to talk to them and you ask them a question. Never, ever, like you're a lawyer, ask a question and not have a joke ready. You don't want them to say, like, hey, how you doing? I'm dying of cancer, and then have nothing. You need to, so always have a joke ready for every crowd work bit you're doing. And if you want to control it, tell them. Don't ask them, tell them. You can still ask, but telling it is how you control it. And yeah, Sean is 100% right. The downside with crowd work is that it is more fun. It is more immediate. It is, however, not as reliable as a way to build a career. Some people do it, but they're very few, very, very few.
I'll add one more thing in there, which is this part of his other question, which is like, the other thing I would try to do, going back and looking at all the years I've done comedy, I wish I'd focused on in the beginning of like trying to be clean at first, because you can always go dirty. But it's harder to be clean, be a clean comic, and to make people laugh and spit up their drinks when you're being clean. So that's the bigger challenge. It's easier and cheaper to be able to go dirty. So you can always go dirty. So I wish I could go back and do it all over again. I wish I had focused on trying to be clean first, because I would have gotten more bookings, more paychecks, more opportunities, all of that stuff a lot sooner. And it took me a long time to learn that, and then to have to redevelop all that. But you can always go dirty. The hard thing is like, can you make someone spit up their drink laughing because you said something that was clean? And so that's the other thing too. I think the second part of his question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Cool.
Where did our moderator go? She's doing such a good job.
I know. I am here. I am still here. I had to turn my computer was overheating. So.
Oh, Andre, I was gonna say you're doing such a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This is fun. Let's see. We have 3 more questions. So, Hope Jefferson, welcome. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, how you doing? Basically, I was going to say, no, the devil didn't send me the text message. My best friend did, because she always thought that I could do stand-up comedian. So
Yay,
I'm more of that sit around the table, tell some jokes and stuff type person. But she always wanted me to try to stand up. I was like, okay, I'll do it. But I'm not a clean virgin type person. I'm more the dirty, not to say a few cuss words or so. So basically, I appreciate that she did send me the text messages, and I did join this class today. Um, I don't know. I have a lot of fear about that, but I mean, I can do it around a little small group of people, but like an audience, I'm not sure, you know. But I guess I can work on it and practice it and stuff like that.
It
And
is.
I like writing. I always like writing.
It's
sorry, go
easier,
ahead.
by the way. It's easier to make believe it or not, it is so much easier to make a group of strangers laugh than to make a small group of your friends laugh. So if you're able to do that reliably, that means that going on stage will be very easy for you. And if you're like me and you get nervous, like what am I going to say to strangers about? The best way to start is just to say what you're just thinking, like in that moment. If you say how you feel, everything else will take over for you, and you'll be able to talk just like you're talking to your friends and your family.
And just real quick, as far as stage fright goes or being nervous to perform, I feel like I am an expert, or I was an expert. I was terrified the first time I tried comedy. The first time I ever told a joke in front of an audience was in the Original Room at the Comedy Store, and it's notoriously the hardest room in comedy. Just bright lights, you can't see anyone. I had never been on stage where I had to speak before. I had my nice little set all written out. I get on stage and I go blank. I have no idea what I want to say. I think I ended up just saying something about women looking weird when they put on makeup, and I like mimed it, and it was just silent. Like no one knew what I was trying to do. And I just said real quick, well, I hope the host is close by because that's all I'm doing. And I ran off stage. And now that is not the set that would have gotten me, booked for more shows or my TV deal or anything like that. But I know one thing for sure, no matter what, for the future, if I stay on the stage more than 30 seconds, I have done better than I did that time. I also now have a story of me bombing. I can now talk to any comic, no matter what experience level they have, and we now have something in common. So don't be afraid, although the whole point of this is to avoid those types of situations, but worst comes to worst, no matter what, you're still there, you're still breathing and thinking, and once you realize that feeling is as bad as it's going to get and you're like, oh, I survived that, then you're good. And it really, you become part of the club of real comics. So
also, you have a nice sounding voice.
Yeah, you really do.
Some people you can just when they speak, you're just like, I want to hear. So like I can not to make a promise or a guarantee, but like I kind of feeling that when you start speaking on stage, people will just listen and like it. And if you're not sure what to talk about, I bet you have 3 stories that always work that you tell easily all the time. Take those 3 stories.
Oh, so with my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
I
just
tell that I call it the ass exam. Is the that exam you gotta do when you get past 40.
the ass exam for the
I don't think there's anything funny about that. There's nothing funny about that at all. I don't think anyone should talk about that. That is not a funny topic.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on. I'm sorry, we
Can
gotta move
I
on.
tell Hope something real fast?
Okay, go ahead,
Yes.
Sean.
Yeah, hey, Hope, I just want you to know that like you telling these stories and stuff in today's world, if you were to take Matt's class, learn how to get better, your storytelling, tightening up, adding in some more jokes, making it funnier. In today's world, you could start something like story time with Hope or Hope story time. And you could have a friend film just you telling the story to a couple of friends around the table, cracking them up, and put that on the internet. And I'm telling you what, Hope, that could blow up. And then you could do theater shows once you get a big following where people just want to come out and hear you tell your stories. So don't be thinking about this just in the sense of traditional stand-up comedy. Think about all the other, what makes you, where you feel comfortable. And I could just hearing your great voice and hearing what you do, I bet you like you've got some killer stories. And I bet you have a bunch more that you could develop them out if you knew how to flush them out. And so I just want to add that in there.
Yeah, that's an excellent.
And then the moth
point.
also.
Yeah, there's
Thank you
also
very much.
there's a lot of.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you
right.
so much. Okay, let's go ahead and let's see. We just got 2 more. So, Rel, go ahead and unmute yourself and welcome to the screen and ask your question.
Miss Hope, she actually hit the nail on the head for me because everybody always told me that I was like, good at telling stories or whatever. I believe everybody in here is funny, but my whole thing is like, where I'm coming out of Philly, and it's like all the places that's here is pretty much booked up. Like you gotta be on a list for long periods of time, and it's like I'm trying to figure out like exactly where I could go, like a hole in the wall, to try to work out, as y'all said, so I can actually try to, what I'm saying, just see if this shit is worth my fucking time. Because it's like I've been hearing that I'm funny forever, and I'm like, anybody's fucking funny. Everybody around me funny. So, but it's like where should I go to just even begin? Because I don't give a fuck about bombing. I done been through anything you can imagine, but bombing,
New York.
that's nothing. So just go up to New York and just balls deep in there.
Go to New York, Mike Vecchione, Kurt Metzger. There's a whole group of dudes that came from Philly. Kevin Hart, I think, actually came from Philly. But I know it's far away, but that is how. I don't think Philly has a club anymore. I thought it had Helium, but I think it's gone.
Yeah, Helium is here, but like the process you gotta go through, like every Tuesday you gotta go put your name in and all this other shit, and then it's like over 100 and something people just like right here. So I'm not saying that I don't believe in myself, but it's like, what's the fucking odds? And then they got friends already built up in there, like, this Joe.
First of all,
bring my guy back all the time.
They don't have you though. That's how you have to think about it. You gotta be like, they don't have you. So here's how you could start getting on stage. 1, music open mics. 2, storytelling mics. Those 2 will add stage time that's of quality. I think Comedy Bureau lists shows in Philly, and then you gotta have to produce your own show. But I know that there are places around you, because I remember when I was starting, that was Mike Vecchione came from Philly, and he came to New York though because he couldn't get stage time. But it's possible. It's possible. Just don't limit yourself to comedy. Then go to music venues. Music venues will be your lifeblood until the comedy scene gets expanding.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Cool. Also, Rel, if you want to put in your
But also
email.
but also stay in line for the comedy thing. Also, there's a do that too. Don't just not do that.
Yeah,
that's important.
I was just gonna say, Rel, if you want to go ahead and add your email and email us, I can put you in the direction if you're having a hard time trying to find mics, and specifically, I can send you to, because I think.
So I just go into the chat and put my email in the chat.
Yeah, well, you can send me a direct message so that it's,
we'll make
not
sure you
public.
find stage time.
But yeah, and that goes for anyone. I can.
Yeah. If anyone is like,
we'll
I can't
get
get on
back
stage,
to you and
we'll
we'll get
figure
you
it
all
out.
the resources. Also, part of what Matt is going to explain is you're going to do the virtual mic.
Oh yeah. I do. I'll be doing virtual mic as well. Come to think about it.
And
That'd be
also,
good for that one father.
Rel, you sound like a perfect person to run a show. Like if you're just you
Yeah,
don't
it's true.
have to have like years of experience doing comedy before you start running a show. Like it's a perfect way for you to be able to have your own stage time in front of a real audience.
If you're a hustler, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Brilliant way to meet other comics.
And the other thing too is you would be surprised, like if you get a room going and you've barely been doing comedy, but you actually have a crowd, you'd be shocked at how successful comics will show up because they want to work out some material, and the word gets out. It's crazy who will show up and do your room.
One of the biggest shows in LA right now, Jammin' in the Van, is run by a guy who had 6 months of comedy before the quarantine hit, and then he started his show, and he has
everyone
when they're in LA, they stop by. So thank you, Rel, so much. I hope that answers your question. We are going to move on to our last question. This better be a good question. And please.
He's like, it's not going to be.
I apologize. Your name, for some reason, it's not showing up. I don't know if Matt, you can, or you don't see my screen.
No, I don't see it on there.
So I believe I wrote down Smith. So I believe, do we have last name is Smith?
Yes.
What
First name is
What's
Dietrich.
your first name?
Dietrich.
Dietrich.
I don't know why.
Dietrich.
Dietrich.
Yes.
Dietrich. Okay, Dietrich.
Teacher?
Dietrich.
Oh, Dietrich.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I got a question, right? So I was wondering, are there online open mics? And if there are, how do I go by doing that? And also, is it harder to do online open mics or in-person open mics?
That is a
Why don't you
fantastic
answer
question.
this, Andrea? You take this one.
You did not disappoint with the last question because it's a perfect segue into Matt explain. You want to do the online mics, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So are you saying are one better than the other? We're going to be doing online open mics. It was something actually I was surprised that more don't exist. Some do exist out there, but one of the things I'm doing for the class is I want to make sure we have a few of them so that there's plenty to do. I got the second part of your question. Were you saying are they better?
Hey, Matt, I was going to say it's important for him to know you've been producing these online open mics probably longer than most people. You've been doing it all throughout COVID. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about the show. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of. Well, I haven't been doing. I might have been doing like comedy shows, but yes, doing both. They're different than live shows a little bit. I like them better, personally, because you can talk longer. People have a longer attention span. I enjoy them a lot. People don't as much. It is different than doing live comedy. I think it is good. I know other people don't like it as much. I think it's a fair statement to say. Some people don't like it. Some people do. I think it's great.
Well, I would say that one doesn't replace the other.
Yeah, one does it. It's like do you like Coca-Cola? And then you discover Pepsi, and you're like, now I got two sodas I dig. You develop as a comedian doing both. Meaning like one won't like be a waste of time and one won't be as amazing use of time. One you'll gravitate towards more than the other, and it just kind of depends on who you are as a person. There are less comedy open mics online, but you could do any of them across the country. That's the plus, so you can do all of them. The difference is attention span. You can flesh out an idea and discover things longer online than you can in person. But in person, you get the bang, 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 and kind of the more of a thrill. So it really is one of those things you'll find out just from doing. But I know that for my class, I'll be doing a bunch of them. So,
Yeah, there's just saying your jokes out loud, whether you're on a stage in front of people or sitting down in front of a computer, you will gain there's value in that.
And I like to sit down when I perform, so to me it's like sitting down is great.
Right. And you will notice, like, say if you did nothing but virtual mics and then you go to do a in-person mic, you're going to notice a difference. Your timing is different. There's a delay. You'll notice in Zoom you have to wait a little longer than if you were in person. You can't do crosstalk, which ideally you don't want a lot of crosstalk in a live situation either, but it's a different with the timing.
I think,
but it is not a waste of time to do a virtual mic by any means, because you are able to say your joke out loud and hear it.
I think the important thing is that you should, if possible, you want to go up 5 to 7 times a week, and so a lot of times you're not going to have the time to be able to go to open mics in person. Online open mics fill that same quota. If they're a way to get more stage time, and more stage time equals better, faster, you can do more online than you can in person. So it's like if you want to get good fast, get on stage as much as possible. And if you can find 30, 40 online open mics across the world, then you are rocking. You are doing so much. So I always look at everything in terms of minutes on stage. That's to me the most important thing.
I was going to tell you too that throughout my 20 years of doing comedy, I've taken 4 comedy classes, including Matt's. And I took one at the Comedy Store when I first started out years ago in San Diego. Then I took one through the Irvine Improv, and then I took another one that was like a private group with a headliner. And then I took Matt's. And of Matt's, it was the most impressive because he made me think about comedy and in ways that I had never thought of it before. But what's really cool about his class is all those other classes, and I paid a lot of money for those other classes, they didn't offer open mics or a place to try out my material. They would go and teach me the theory and all this stuff, but I had to go find my own stage time. Whereas what Matt's offering is this chance to do open mics online. And so like earlier, we had that dad that asked the question like, hey, how do I balance this with my family? I forgot to say, this is a great way to balance it. You can get some stage time, work some material out, and you don't even have to leave your house. You can do it after your kids go to bed at night. So that's another thing. But yeah, man, it's like, to be able to not only have someone take you through and teach you everything and all that, and then also show you how to promote shows, which was other classes never taught, but then to give you like stage time without you having to go promote it and make it all happen on your own, open mic, where it's a safe environment to go test out new material. It's huge. So I think that was like the best question to end on.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I saw more hands went up, and we gotta wrap it up. So Matt, would you like to give your closing remarks?
I so want to end with saying the devil, but I know that's the wrong thing to do. Okay. I love teaching. Like I've always enjoyed this so much. But here's my pitch. I'll do a pitch. I'll do one of my pitches. This. Okay, look. I am a working comedian, and I have spent a lot of years because I wanted to find out why people laughed, and I take joy in all that theory and that structure, and I take more joy though in making people get good quick. And so there are things that you can learn that you don't need to learn through mistakes, through getting it wrong. And there is like a definitive structure when it comes to stand-up. There's a definitive set of rules, and once you know them, then you can have the real fun. The real fun's not trying to be funny. The real fun's when you get to express your point of view, when you get to say something. And I hope that I address every single possible factor that could come into play for comedy. Like, you can't get on stage, I'll show you how to get on stage. You don't know how to talk to a venue, I'll show you how to talk to the venue. You want to learn how to write, I'll show you exactly how you write jokes. You want to understand why the jokes work, I'll show you that as well. You're trying to figure things out. I like that feeling of passing it forward, and I have only one rule when it comes to teaching comedy. It's that everything I share must be true 100% of the time, or it's my opinion, and there's no value to that. Everything I share, I'll have a reason for it, and I can point to it, and I'll get you good quicker. I guess that's the thing. But I'm terrible at pitches. I really am the worst. Oh, how they set up. Okay, so that's a good idea. So I'm going to, when we get done here, I'm going to send you guys an email. The email will essentially have a little description of the class and things like that. And it will include a link, and that link is to the ticketing page. And if you wanted to go sign up for the class, you can do it there. You'll have it in your email box within 20 minutes, maybe less. That's it. And if you want to message me on Instagram, I'm there. I'll answer questions. Matthew Allen Taylor. You can find me. I'm a resource. Even if you don't take my class, I'm a resource. You can ask me questions. I'm friendly and nice. Andrea Joseph is a resource. And I want to end. I want to thank Sean Kelly, because Sean Kelly, I know you guys might not know this, but he is a very busy man, and he has done me a solid beyond words tonight. So I'm very grateful, Sean. Thank you so much.
Yes, a big thank you to Sean. Thank you, Hank, for doing.
Oh my God,
IT.
Hank!
He was amazing. Thank you so much.
Hank is the best.
Thank you to everyone who stuck it out, and this was great. A lot of useful information. Hopefully, Chris, I do see that you have your hand up, and I'm sorry we weren't able to get to you. Please, like I said, if you want to send me a direct message on here before we end it, and Matt, we'll get to you. Kathy, same with you. Anyone who wants to
ask the questions, I'll answer them afterwards.
Also, Matt will be emailing everyone the information about the classes, and you guys can feel free to also respond. Oh, I just realized you're just listening to a voice. Feel free to respond to the question. To the email with any questions, and we'll make sure that we get back to you. So thank you guys so much, and we are gonna.
Wait, how do we end this, by the way?
How are we gonna end it?
Yeah.
We're just gonna end it.
With a song, are we gonna sing?
I'm not singing. I'm not making these people sit through you singing either.
I have a beautiful voice.
All right. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much.
Good night, you guys.
Bye.
We had an opera singer, but we didn't ask her to stay and sing us out. Oh, well.
Turn out the lights. Party's over.
We gotta end it over there. I wish I could sing. I can't sing.
Funny thing happened to me on the way to work. No.
Oh, shit.
There we go. All right, we're about to end it in 3 seconds. 2. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you all.